I didn't schedule this.
All
Anita,
right.
I didn't schedule it.
I didn't even know what this was.
That's
What
right.
are we talking about?
Like we
what?
Anita's saying, why is this on a weekday during the day?
Well, it actually is a holiday in the U.S. today.
Yeah.
It's Juneteenth.
Also, Anita, you work from home and play phone games, so hush.
But I'm glad you're here, Anita. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to, I guess we're calling this Why Read Part 2, but really, yes. I mean, we decided we had so much more we wanted to talk about at the end of Why Read number 38. So I'm bringing David from Four Corners of the Page back and Alan from Library of Alexandria. And this time we're going to start out talking about book hype, but we're going to transition to other topics as well. And before we get started, I just want to say, I know I've told you this 100 times at this point, but congratulations, David, on 1K.
Thank you. Yeah, I posted a wee video on my channel yesterday to celebrate. And, in some ways, it's kind of an arbitrary milestone, but it's been very nice receiving so many lovely comments from lovely people. So I do appreciate it.
Why is it an arbitrary milestone?
It's something about, 999 is no different from 1000, right? I mean, it's just one under.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But maybe I'm just being pedantic. I've told you I have an inability to take compliments. So I guess people have to keep feeding me compliments until they come through.
I understand that.
But thank you.
So do I. Yeah, but I think it's so well deserved. I love your channel, obviously, having you on my channel so often lately. But I'm so happy that everyone is here in the chat. Hello. Wonderful to see you all. Listening to during a work meeting. Wow. Wow, lots of interesting chat here about work going on. And we were actually thinking about talking about that a little bit from our end as well. So yes, it's wonderful to see you all here. Yes, it is a national holiday. It is Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth. And I know some of you aren't in the US, but I just appreciate you all being here so much. And it's not a stream with Alan without him yelling at Anita. It used to be me. It used to be I joined the chat when you were on Chatting with Nuts and you just start yelling. And and honestly, that's like a form of love. Like, Alan loves you if he starts yelling at you.
That's true. So the people I don't yell at should be wary.
Is it how you operate? Is it how you operate in the classroom, Alan?
Absolutely. Like the worst thing I can do to a kid is ghost them. Like just be just be nothing to them. Like if I'm bullying a child, I like them and see potential.
There's nothing better when you're teaching than a 10-second silence, is there?
Yeah. Seriously, I'll just my gaze will just go over them. Like I've removed them from reality in my mind. Like I see an empty chair. Sorry, you should not be the worst child. Watch, I'm getting fired now, or have people.
Well, hello everybody again. It's going to be hard for me to catch up with everybody in the chat this time, but like I said, we are excited to talk about a lot of things this time. It's Books, Beverages, and Besties. I've just recently learned about this channel, by the way, and I absolutely adore them. Two best friends talking about books. They're lovely. Everybody go and subscribe. Just love them. And they just finished The Way of Edan, and you're a great narrator.
Prophet should be out mid-August at the latest. It is with the sound engineer, and all of the editing is supposed to be finished by August 1, when we'll turn it into, if it's done before, excellent, but August 1 at the latest, we'll turn it into Amazon, and then Amazon has to authorize it. Like it has to run checks or whatever. So that takes 10 days at the outside. So it should be there then.
Yes, and we'll get into that a little bit more too. But yes, everybody, the Way of Edan audiobook getting wonderful reception. Hello, Peter, and hello, Andy Smith. Hello.
It's so good to see Andy back on BookTube.
I know. I am so thrilled to see Andy Smith back. Maybe he'll accept I invited him to Why Read a long time ago, but maybe we could talk about it again, Andy, now that you're a little bit more in the swing of things again. And hello, Jerome. And we have Talking Story here. Alan, do you yell at John? Really?
I mean, no. I just contradict John. I don't yell at John, but I do have an antagonistic relationship with John. But I don't yell. Like I don't really yell. Like John doesn't really do anything that's yell worthy. Like John doesn't betray me really.
Do you know how you can tell if your yelling is getting through generally? And I'm not a big yeller, But if you have to, if you ever are yelling at someone, you can tell if it's sinking in because of the eyebrows. Watch the eyebrows. And having seen maybe John get told off by someone else, the eyebrows go down, which is an indication that impervious to the yelling.
Who did look? There's another thing is y'all don't know what me yelling like sounds like. Like you just don't. Like I'm fussing more frequently than I'm yelling. Like yelling is not something that I enjoy doing. Like really. Hey, camera, focus on me. I'm in the freaking foreground. Why on earth are you?
Was that yelling?
No, that's just me fussing.
Hey, Paul. Hey, ADHD reader. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool people here. Oh my gosh, it's Taylor from Made Between the Pages. Hello. Yay.
Joanna, you are never gonna get through the chat.
I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
Why?
Taylor, I was talking about you with David because Taylor is just moved from Japan back to the US. But David is moving to Tokyo pretty soon. Actually, he's in Scotland right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to get on to the topics though,
Speaking of
because you're
Japan,
right,
David,
Alan.
let's
I'm going
talk
to be
about
the worst
Japan for
about
another
the things. What were you saying?
I said we're gonna talk about Japan for another hour. Speaking of Japan.
I know, Taylor, in case you missed the first one, part one, it was pretty much, instead of why read, it was why Japan, is what everybody's telling me to retitle that episode.
Talk about Japan for like an hour.
So I told my dad about my channel, and he watched the first Why Read. I said, well, it was this amazing experience. We got to interact with these two, and he goes, "Is that the one where you talked about Japan for 45 minutes?" yeah, it was. So even my poor father was aware of the Japan length that we went to. And
that is amazing. Your parents watched Why Read.
I know.
I'm so honored.
He's upstairs. I'll bring him down if you like.
Oh, sure. I would love to meet your dad. Sure, if you want to.
I don't know if he'd be up for it, but I can
That would be interesting. Yeah. All right. So first we're going to get into, though, instead of Why Read, it's going to be hype. What is hype? Alan, take the floor. What are your thoughts about BookTube hype? What is hype? And how are we understanding hype in our community? And what are your thoughts about it?
These are like graduate level questions that you're asking me right now. And before I want to answer that, I want to call everyone's attention to that for the second live stream in a row, Joanna just glazed David and his channel and said nothing about me for the second live stream in a row. Y'all saw that at the beginning. Y'all saw that. I just want to point that out. I'm just here to point out discrepancies.
Okay, before you begin, then Alan.
No. I don't want you fake praise. So
I told you, Alan. I need the compliments.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
it's fine. Thank you, Anita. Anita noted it down in the book. Good. So hype can mean a lot of stuff to a lot of people, and hype, just because something's hype doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Some things are popular because they're good. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was a very hyped game, and I thought it was great. Like I enjoyed. Oh man, that's like the first time I've been part of like a new hype thing. I feel so like part of a community because usually I'm not part of the hype thing. But hype is just when it's a perpetual motion machine, because once people start talking about something and more people start talking about something, then more and more people will start talking about it, and then it just becomes ubiquitous. And it doesn't matter if it's ubiquitous everywhere. Like it doesn't matter if the larger blogosphere is talking about something. All that matters, like something can be hyped among just your friend group. Like I've had stuff that, I had a friend group of like 8 people and like 6 of them were hyping this one. And it's like, I don't care. Stop telling me to do this. That's like the fastest way to get me to not like watch a movie or something. Fight Club was one of those things. Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, you gotta watch Fight Club. You gotta watch Fight Club. And I'm about to spoil Fight Club for every single person in this chat. So if you do not want Fight Club spoiled for me, you better run. And so we finally watched it, and I had been mean to my friend earlier in the day, and we finally watch it. And to get mad at me, like I'm doing what he wants me to do, is watch a stupid movie. But I don't know what I'd done. I'd done something to him early in the day. He leans over 10 minutes into the film. He leans over and says, "They're the same person." And I said, "Shut it off. Shut it off, Pope. I'm not watching this movie. Shut it off." And to this day, I have never seen Fight Club. But Fight Club was one of those things that was just so hyped for me. Project Hail Mary is a good example of something recently that I read that was hyped that I did not understand the hype for. But I think, we have a very, I don't know, like a lot of us are in the same exact circles with like some kind of tangential relationships outside of the Venn diagram where we all meet. And stuff can get talked about. And sometimes it comes top down, and top down hype is what I hate the most. Like, I don't mind like grassroots hype movement where it comes from one of us here at the bottom. But when hype comes top down from one of like the big guys, it doesn't matter if it's genuine or not. It can feel disingenuous. And the thing is, it's hard to separate what people's actual opinion is from the hype train. And I'm not saying that anyone who likes something hyped is lying. But if you pretend that you are not affected by, and we've had this conversation before, Joanna, if you pretend that you're not affected by external influence, you're not being real with yourself. Like, everyone has a desire to belong and be part of the in crowd. And it doesn't matter, like, if you didn't like if you can like something that's hyped, but you also need to be aware that it is possible, because this is so hyped, that you are either prone to liking it more, like you've been primed to like it more, or if you're anti-hype, you're primed to dislike it more. And I find that happens to me more often, is because something is so hyped. Well, I'm like, oh, well, I'll show them, all of those sheeple. I'll show them what really is happening here. And it's hard for me. It starts at a negative rather than starting at a positive. And everyone's affected by that, whether they think they are or not. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah,
it's
did.
just, it's hard to kind of to separate yourself from the hype train. And it's still super subjective, you know, like, I don't know, but I think, I don't know. The hype is it's like a thief.
It's like a thief. I love that. No, I know I have heard you mention these thoughts before, but I did want to bring it into this larger context of a conversation because I find it really interesting, and I do wonder if fantasy could possibly be more susceptible because I feel like in fantasy we have, I want to say, bigger fandoms, uh, more enthusiastic fandoms than maybe other genres. And I suspect my suspicion behind that is because fantasy usually functions as a series. And it's one thing to follow a character and to get invested in a story if it's a standalone. It's quite another if you're investing in a multi-volume work of fiction and you're following a character or set of characters through a long journey, long epic journey. So I feel like that investment grows greater attachment, grows greater emotional buildup, and greater strength in the raw fandom. You know, this is the best thing ever, and and almost a feeling of inclusion. I'm part of a group if I'm part of this fandom, I feel a bit conflicted about this for multiple reasons because on the one hand, I do consider myself a fan of certain things, but at the same time, I almost wonder if I'm more of like a casual fan
Yeah.
when I
Oh,
look at like this idea of what a true fan is
I
versus
do
like,
not like fandoms at all. But an example of fandom function of hype trains functioning on a microcosm scale. I watch all the time, and so it's my dislike of hype is also it's like a revolutionary thing. But I watch all the time people on live streams. They're talking with someone on a live stream, and someone starts talking about a book that they just loved, and without fail, the host, be it Jimmy or Joanna, John, everyone's like, oh, I've got to try that. I'm gonna move that up to TBR because someone recently just hyped a book, and so they buy the book, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting here like, if only someone would read something that they heard me say 2 years ago was really good, but that's not recent. That's not a recent hype train. Like, I only have X amount of energy to hype something like all the time. And at some point, I'm just screaming into the abyss and I'm not going to do it. But I see this all the time. It happens all the time. And the thing is, I am also not immune to that. Like, I am not sitting here from my ivory tower saying that I'm immune to the hype train. I'm not. I just get hyped about different things than other people do. And the fact that I have no time stops me from being like, I'm immediately going to go ahead and read that. But A Monster Calls is a book that I read recently that was because it was hyped recently on like Goodreads. I saw a bunch of people like it was just on my Goodreads feed or whatever. I don't know if that makes
sense. Fabulous, A Monster Calls.
It is fabulous. It is fabulous. But I only read it because I had just heard it hyped.
Hmm.
It's a really good
Yeah.
book to teach on Monster Calls as well. I teach it in my classroom. It's fabulous.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's simple but layered.
Yeah. Interesting. I was thinking about this in terms of like whether there's part of me that feels a little bit of reticence towards fantasy fandoms. I don't know. I don't know. Because okay, I'll explain. I feel like I'm a fan of fantasy and certainly consider like if you told me about certain series, like any of my top 10 series or whatever, I would certainly say yes, I'm a fan of that series or I'm a fan of that author or that books or those books or whatever. But I'm never the kind of fan when it comes to fantasy specifically that studies the lore in detail and can give you all of this historical description and detail and character. I sometimes even forget characters in my favorite series or names of places, and I don't study the map in detail, and I don't know the wiki in detail, and so all these extra little Easter eggs and Cosmere implications, that kind of thing. I just feel like that's just not really my thing. Like I know, like more power to people who love that kind of stuff. Like I'm so happy for people who just get into all those little details and Easter eggs. I think that's wonderful if that's fun for people. But I find myself a little outside of that. Like, yeah, I love this for kind of maybe some different reasons. I don't know.
But I think
Um,
those people, sorry to interrupt you, are the top like 1% of fans. And we see them because they're so prevalent in the comments and on the wikis and on the Reddit and things like that. But the reality, like Cosmere is a great example. Like the 1% of people who are really, really into Cosmere make themselves known. And they kind of intimidate the rest of us. Right. I think that's something to bear in mind as well, that the vast majority of us are these people. And because like when I make like a silly Malazan video, I sometimes think, am I saying this right? Am I going to get something wrong here? And the truth is probably, yes, I am getting something wrong there. But you do have to kind of cut through that intimidation factor as well, don't you?
Yeah, I completely get that. I don't like fandoms. I have realized this about myself since being on BookTube. I don't actually like liking things that a bunch of other people like. Like I
Yeah.
just don't. One, it comes from my deep seated desire to be heard, where I just felt my entire life I couldn't be heard. And when there is a larger audience, I don't feel like my voice is being heard. And then that causes all kinds of insecurities within me. And I've come, this is my self-actualization process since I've been on BookTube. Because like I don't actually love talking about like Greek history with a bunch of Greek history people like that I see in my career and everything. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this with you. Like I'll talk about this with my students and like some friends, but I don't really want to talk about this with you. Same thing, like I would never want to engage in those kind of conversations about Stormlight. Like when I read Stormlight, I don't want that. Like I don't want to have that conversation. Please stop. I experienced this with One Piece. Like I loved One Piece, and being involved in the larger fandom of One Piece is not something that I particularly enjoy, because like I don't want to talk about all that. I want to talk about it with my friends and other people who think it's freaking cool and and geek out over it. I don't want to be told that I watch it wrong because I don't like this particular character. You know what I mean? And the larger the fandom is, the more you run risk of that. And so I like to keep the stuff like, like I like Parker, and there's like a handful of people who talk with me about Parker, and we all like the same stuff. And some of the stuff we're like, yeah, this book's garbage. What are you doing, Parker? Like, why did you write this book? And it's fine. And I don't have someone coming in and being like, well, actually, that's the cipher of his series. And it's like, stop. Please just let people like and not like things. And I think that becomes the danger when the fandom gets larger or more concentrated.
And this is kind of an issue as well, isn't it, with kind of fandoms in terms of fantasy? Because we're not just talking about standalone works. We're talking about people loving an author, or we're talking about people loving an ongoing series, which is why I think the discourse around The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which I haven't read, and Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, which I have read and regretted, is so interesting, because you have almost a fandom trying to come to terms with itself, whether something within that fandom can actually be below quality. And so what you have is some people saying, listen, you just don't understand this work. It is actually really good. Wind and Truth is actually a really good book. You just don't get it. And it's interesting hearing these kind of conversations within communities as they try and work out how they feel about something within a larger product that they love. And I think another thing that's interesting in terms of fandom and story is as something grows in hype and as something becomes larger and larger and larger, sometimes that can actually dissolve the product that people love. I think maybe Star Wars would be a good example of this, right? Star Wars had a fandom that people loved to pieces, but because it was so popular, it got bought by Disney. It got absolutely all these shows and all these products, blown up out of nowhere. And suddenly people are taking a step back and kind of feeling some revulsion towards it. So sometimes the hype itself can dissolve the product that they loved in the first place. Happens in video games a lot too. I guess more cooks kind of jumping in to stir the pot while they can.
That's so interesting because I mean, sometimes that doesn't mean that the original work itself is not good. Like for example, with the Star Wars example, I still think that those first 3 movies, I know that they're somewhere in the middle of the timeline, but those first 3 movies, I just think are a masterpiece still. I still love them. I still think they're amazing. But it is sad if it's the case that because of the expansion of the universe and the franchise, that maybe that's seen as less appealing now. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I'll give you another one as well if you like. The Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy by Cixin
Yeah.
Liu has that trilogy. There's a 4th book. I don't know if you know there's a 4th book in Remembrance of Earth's Past. So you've got Three Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Death's End, right? Those are the trilogy. There's a 4th book written by another author who I think his pen name is Bao Shu, and it's called, what's it called? Can't even remember. I've not read it, and I don't want to read it. I have very briefly gone on the Wikipedia to read what it's about. It's basically fan fiction that was published and canonized by the author. And because Three Body got so much of a hype train, so much of a reputation behind it, the second guy wrote a 4th book that was just fan fiction. But apparently the publishers went, we want to publish this and we want your endorsement. And apparently Cixin Liu had no choice but to go, yes, okay, and this is part of my universe now. And he's come out and said in retrospect, this is I'm not going to continue writing in the Remembrance of Earth's Past world because it's kind of been ruined. So that's another example maybe of hype overtaking the product itself.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I'm going to highlight Ben's comment here. He said, I'm so happy I discovered some faves before the hype train hit for things like Sun Eater and
Yeah, for sure.
DCZ. On the flip side, I came to Dandelion Dynasty after, and it disappointed, even though I still liked it.
Oh, I found a good point about Empire of Silence. It's currently
What is it?
It's currently balancing my laptop. So,
At least it's good for something.
yeah, that's my
Shots
obligatory
fired.
intervention.
Shots fired on Empire of Silence on like every stream now. Yikes. Yeah, that's so interesting. Oh, well, thank you for the kind words here. I really appreciate your Chapter Chasers book club. I do try to put my heart into everything. So thank you.
Think
Yeah,
about-
go ahead.
Sorry, with the hype, like highlighting what Ben is saying,
Mhm.
there is no possible way for me to know whether or not I would have liked Stormlight, right?
Hmm.
I came across Way of Kings in bookstores long before I was on BookTube, and I just never got it because I didn't know who Brandon Sanderson was, and I was like, whatever.
Mhm.
But now, like you can't know whether you would have enjoyed it without the conversation around it. Like,
Yeah.
and so I have no idea. Like, I am going to read it eventually, but I just have no idea. I just don't know. Like, the conversation around it has just colored everything.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just, and when you try to criticize something and people rush to its defense,
Yeah.
people don't understand. No one understands. And here's your Walker Life lesson, guys. Hashtag right now for you people on the internet. When you rush to defend something that someone has a criticism about, the thing about they don't like, about the thing that you like, you are being counterproductive to your mission by doing that. You are not. If I have a criticism with Stormlight and you rush to tell me why I'm wrong and why that criticism is valid, you're making me like Stormlight less. Like, you're not. Trust me. The internet is not different just for you. Like, you are not the one who is bringing enlightenment to people on the internet and changing minds with your sage words. Like, you're just not, guys. And I have to accept that also. Like I am also not the one who's changing hearts and minds. You just have to let people not like stuff. Like you just have to let people not like stuff. The best thing you can do, I found, is just to be like, no, I get that. Like, I get that. That didn't bother me, but I get that. Telling me I'm wrong, me especially, and I don't think I'm that far outside the main. I'm just going to dig my heels in. Like, you're going to make me hate it more, because it's like, okay, well, clearly you can't like this thing. So that is my advice for everybody on the internet. It's just
I love that. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So well said. Needed to be said.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, on you go first.
No, you first.
I was just sorry, keep interrupting each other this stream, don't we? I was just going to say, I think it even goes a bit further before you actually read the thing that people are recommending. I mean, have you guys ever had an experience where, or maybe you were this person who really wanted someone to just read something or watch something, and so you inadvertently, you don't mean to do it, you just kind of push it on them. Like, have you heard the good news about KJ Parker? Have you? Here's a copy. You know, how many times have we bought a copy for someone and they haven't read it? Because there's almost like a pressure there where the one-to-one hype, you know, gets to be
I
too much.
expect people to not like KJ Parker, so that is not me with that. It's that with I'm that way with Long Price Quartet, where I'm like, just please understand its brilliance the way I do, please.
Yeah.
Parker, I don't expect anybody to like, so I'm always thrilled when people do. But
yeah, this is totally Evie with Spear Cuts Through Water.
yeah. But video games and TV and movies, like, that happens in our real lives all the time. When you're watching a movie with someone and you're looking over there, like, are they reacting the way that they're supposed to be at this scene? Oh, you know, I get it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I just have like a few different points that are coming to mind. I'm highlighting ADHD readers' comment here because I was thinking about Way of Kings. You said the conversation about Way of Kings was so different when it first came out, and I imagine that's true. I know when I read it 5 years ago, I was really I think I had a bias towards it. I always say that was my favorite Stormlight book, but I think I really wanted to be like a Stormlight fan, and I wanted this. There was a part of me that wanted to be part of that excitement and part of that wave, and I did enjoy my time with Way of Kings. I'm not saying that that was inauthentic. At the same time, and I did bring this up in a video about 6 ways I've changed my mind about books, 6 different ways. Speaking of Andy Smith, who was here earlier in the chat. Oh, Andy's still in the chat. Andy. So when Andy Smith put out this brilliant video so many years ago, I think in 2021, I want to say, about Way of Kings, good but not great. And he acknowledged all of the positive things that the book was doing, but he also acknowledged a lot of things that he felt were a bit of a miss. And watching that video, I have to admit, because it was so well done, it was so good, such a good video. It did make me see the cracks that I wasn't really quite acknowledging before. And it did make me see the book differently. And that doesn't mean that, you know, like I said, that my initial enjoyment was wrong or inauthentic, but it did make me see things differently. So it is interesting. And I don't know. Yeah, it's just interesting the way conversations about books, especially as we've gone on in Stormlight, and the reception of Wind and Truth has not been super positive. So I'm sure some people might look back at those previous books in a different light too. So
John liked it, but John is just generally positive. A lot of people liked it. John liked it. Pete liked it. I have heard a lot of people talking. I've heard more negative than I've heard when Rhythm of War came out, but a lot of people did like it.
Something I wonder about, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out, Books with Genghis Khan, because I just appreciated it so much that he said this. And I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but Dragonsteel happened right around the time that Winds and Truth came out.
Yeah.
And I think there had to be something, like, again, being part of this fandom and being part of this excitement. I'm sure that if I were like as high about Stormlight at the time and I went to Dragonsteel and I read Winds of Truth, I can't say that I'd be above the influence of that affecting my reading enjoyment. And I can't speak for anybody, and I'm just bringing up Ben because he did say he felt like that might have influenced him in some ways in his enjoyment of Winds and Truth. And I thought that was very transparent, and you know, we just don't know, right?
There's that thing as well about self-imposed hype.
There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
No.
I was just going to say there's nothing like there's the person who can give themselves the biggest pressure to enjoy something as ourselves, right? And I think Stormlight is probably a good example of this, where even if abstract, say no one else in the world exists and it's just me happily pottering around and a machine is just producing this book called the Stormlight Archive, there's a sunk cost fallacy. Let's just say right now that maybe book 4 and book 4 and 5 are not as high quality generally as books 1, 2, 3. I think it takes a very strong person to get halfway through book 4 and kind of go, I think this is maybe a step down, because you want to be enjoying it, right? You don't want to say that you've wasted your time, or your time is being used less effectively than it could otherwise have been, especially because the hobby that we have, which is reading, takes dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours. So I think there is a sunk cost fallacy where I maybe for me with the Hyperion books, I love the Hyperion books 1 through 4. But it kind of took me a couple of months after stepping back to go, maybe books 3 and 4 are not quite masterpieces compared to books 1 and 2. There has to be a bit of reflection and self-interrogation. I don't know if you guys have any books or series like that.
Yeah, it's video games. I play a series of JRPGs called Trails of, or the Kiseki series in Japanese, and it is on game like 13 is coming out in September, or November, and it's following the same storyline, like the same overarching plot line with just like different regions of the world, and it has gotten to the point where I'm like, if they do this same thing, like my buddy and I have to make a joke of it. It's like, we didn't see the body. No way they're dead. Didn't see the body. They're coming back. Nope. My buddy Finn said, if this guy is not alive in the next game, I will give you $200. That's how certain I am that he's coming back in the next game. And it does a lot of that stuff where it's just like, this is not as strong as it used to be. There's a lot of recycled stuff, but we're 13 games in. We're going to see this out. Like, we're going to see this through. And hope that some at the ending will be something different than what we're experiencing now. Because the one we just played, the one that just came out, was garbage. Like, it reset everything back to the beginning, and they're starting to use time travel and stuff, and we're deluding ourselves, being like, oh, please dig themselves out of this hole, because it is not. So and that happened with Assassin's Creed too. Like, I finally quit Assassin's Creed after Odyssey. I played and platinumed every game, which is, I think, gets like 8 games up to Odyssey, and I'm done.
Alan,
I'm not enjoying them anymore.
Alan, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the best one.
I mean, it's not.
I loved it. it.
I do love the fact that I'm in Greece and I can crawl all over Greece. Like, that's awesome. It's not the best one as far as story.
You're right. I love the digital tourism. I think that's what it is for me.
That's literally the only reason I play them now, is digital tourism, 100%.
Yeah.
As far as like plot line is concerned, we've
like
been
a bad
on there a long
My
time.
husband has that in virtual reality, or I'm pretty sure he has Assassin's Creed in virtual reality. Yeah. It's
So,
really cool.
I think video games.
I just really quickly, I need to thank David Seaworth, because he commented on my channel the other day, or I think it was actually yesterday, and he was like, Joanna, I love you, but your A Song of Ice and Fire books are out of order and it's driving me crazy, or something like that. And so I went and fixed it. Although one could say Clash of Kings, of course, that's a special edition. I do have that set apart. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the $2.
So I'm not sure I have any reading series that are like that, because most of the series I've read, I'm either only after the first book or I finished them. Like, so I don't think I have any other series. I think most people's would be Stormlight or Song of Ice and Fire if they didn't enjoy book 5 and they're just hanging on because they think they should.
Yeah. Wheel of Time was one for me. Everyone kept telling me how good Wheel of Time was, and I got a lot of books in before I had to admit to myself that I just wasn't enjoying it. Going back to video games, I think that's an interesting topic, because I think video games are more likely to kind of pivot based on what fans want. So for example, Assassin's Creed, if Assassin's Creed Origins, which is this big game set in Egypt and you can walk around Egypt, that did very well. So the publishers clearly went, okay, and now we're going to make one in Greece, and now we're going to make one in England. And the hype affects, what is coming next directly. Or should we even make another game? Should we just make another piece of downloadable content in this world, because it's spinning the money making machine?
Well, also the popular trends when everything was a live service game before finally they stopped and are making single player games again.
Yeah. I like Evie's comment here about timing, that our reading experiences are influenced by our living experiences. Like, we're influenced by so many variables. However wide or intimate those experiences may be, there are plenty of books I adore that I love because of the time when I read. And I do agree. I actually have a video here on my channel called Timing is Everything, I think is the name on the thumbnail, but it's about how timing affects our reading experience. And I break it down into categories because I love doing that. But I do agree with this. And it's always one of those things. Like when I hear people talk about Wheel of Time, for example, the people who are big Wheel of Time fans, it usually feels to me, maybe not for all of them, but it usually feels to me like a lot of that love is rooted in nostalgia, in following that journey when the books came out. And it's interesting how that could work for or against the reader too, because like the Dark Tower, I know we've talked about this before, Alan, I'm pretty sure, about those who were reading the Dark Tower when those books were being published,
Yeah.
maybe had a more negative experience with books like Wizard and Glass and Song of Susanna.
Wizard and Glass was great. That's
Oh my
all we
god,
had
so
for
good.
forever.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, yeah, but it probably and it for me, because I came to the series later, I adore Wizard and Glass. I like Song of Susanna. I don't think I hated it as much, but I can understand if I had to wait a long time and that was what I got, maybe I could understand that disappointment, putting myself in those shoes. And one other thing I want to bring up too is small hype, because we're talking about big fandoms and big scale hype. But, in the adult fantasy corner of BookTube where the three of us reside, I think we're somewhat of a smaller, I would say we're like a microcosm of the fantasy uh, book fandom or readership or whatever you want to call it. And for me, like you were talking about books that like, what if I saw Way of Kings on the shelf way back when? How would I have experienced it back then versus now? Would I have had a totally different reading experience? For me, the series that comes up for me, and I know we talked about it last episode, Long Price Quartet, because I saw that in Barnes and Noble maybe a year or two before I even discovered BookTube was a thing. Maybe it was the same year, I'm not sure. It was around 2017, I think. I saw it in Barnes& and Noble, and I almost bought it, like, 2 or 3 times. I kept looking at it, I'm like, I kinda wanna get this book." It was the bind up. I
Mm.
kinda wanna get it, and then I pulled my hand back. I thought, "It's a little expensive. I don't know. I've not heard about it." And I think I did try to play it safe, and I heard about Mistborn, so I picked up Mistborn instead. And it was one of my even though I liked Mistborn trilogy, okay, but it's one of my biggest regrets because, ah, years later, I discover Alan's channel, and he is singing the praises of Long Price Quartet, and I realized I could have gotten that book, I could have read it back then, and it
Yeah.
was no longer in print. Fortunately, Santa Evie here in the chat, gifted me her bind up, and I got to read it, but, like,
It's
and
still in
that
print.
meant a lot to me that you were excited about it and that others, in our small little corner were excited about something. Same thing with Guy Gavriel Kay, finding out about Guy Gavriel Kay mostly through Library Ladder and through Jake Bishop
Mm.
got me excited to pick up some Guy Gavriel Kay. And of course, Guy Gavriel Kay is famous in a larger scheme of fantasy. But still, I just feel like it's more of your close circle of friends talking about something versus this big blown up thing, to me, that does affect me quite a bit.
I'm surprised that Long Price Quartet is no longer in print. Is that still true?
The bind up.
The bind up,
Okay.
that beautiful bind up that I showed you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to gift me a copy,
Yeah.
The,
Well, John's reading it. I don't know which edition you have, John, but
He has the
it
bind up. He has the bind
you
up.
do? Oh, man, that's hard to find these days. You can find it used, but it's expensive and yeah.
Long Price Quartet. Speaking of, Joanna, Ben asked a question about books that we knew nothing one way or the other about. That
Can you
kind of
highlight it? I'm sorry, because I see a few comments from Ben. Feel free to highlight if you want.
Where was it? Here we go. What's something you've read that came out of nowhere and blew you away? There are two that I had no expectation, and Long Price Quartet is one of them. It's one of the reasons that I'd heard nothing about it, and I read Shadow and Summer, and I read Betrayal in Winter, and then 6 months before I read Autumn War. And when I read Autumn War, I was like, "What have I done? Like, what do you mean I waited 6 months to read this?" And then immediately following up, I immediately followed up with Price of Spring, and I was just like, "What? Like, how have I not heard about this everywhere?" And it remained. It just. I've read a lot of things that I read a lot of things I don't know anything about all the time, and like Imperium about Cicero and Augustus. But I mean, these are Roman things. Like I have expectation one way or the other. That, and then the novella by KJ Parker, Purple and Black. It was the second thing. It was the second thing I read by him. And it was in novella, and I happened to have the hard copy of it, as opposed to it's in a bind up, Academic Exercises. But like part of the story is purple ink is used for royal correspondence. And so when black ink is used, it's between the emperor and his friend as friends. It's not official communication. The bind up of Academic Exercises and the Kindle, none of those have the purple ink. You only get the effect of the purple ink in the hardcover. And my wife and I, we had tickets to Broadway Across America in Jacksonville, and we were in our hotel room, and I was reading that book, waiting for the next day to go see our show. And I was just like, holy crap. Like I woke Christina up, and I'm like, Christina, like, because I'm sitting here like and I had to tell her everything that happened in this novella. And she's like, and I can't tell you what she said, but she, because it's a spoilery for anybody who hadn't read it, but I just told her everything that happened. I was just like, I want to read this again. Like, I want to read it like again. Like, that's how, like, just, I don't know, affected by Purple and Black I was. And that's really what solidified Parker. Because I just read Folding Knife also. So that and Long Press Quartet are the two that came out of nowhere and just affected me. That and book 4 of the Greatcoats. But by that point, I was already a Greatcoats fan. So,
all right, David, what's your answer to the question?
Oh, Ulysses by James Joyce. No, I'm just kidding.
No!
I tell you what, I really did have a good time reading Ulysses. Give me 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Right. Okay. I read Ulysses on my commute.
Okay.
Right. Alan. Okay. If you're going to read Ulysses, read it in a way that there's no way to possibly escape reading Ulysses, because I read it on a train during my commute for like 3 months. And it was glorious. It was wonderful. But that was a joke answer.
That's called Stockholm Syndrome. That's literally have a name for that.
It was incredibly rewarding, Stockholm Syndrome.
I won't listen to this.
Right, I'll give you a few real examples.
So unexpected.
Do you know what, Malazan? I read Malazan. So I did the whole thing where it was like I finished A Song of Ice and Fire, and I googled what is like A Song of Ice and Fire, and it was like Malazan, Joe Abercrombie. This was about 2013, and so I bought Gardens of the Moon with no expectations, and that blew my socks off. Dungeon Crawler Carl is another one that I kind of seem to have gotten in on just before it really took off. So if you look at those covers of Dungeon Crawler Carl, they look abysmal, and they're fun, but they're stupid. And so this book came through my doorstep, and I picked it up. I went, okay, this probably isn't for me, but I sat down and gave it 50 pages, and it was so funny and witty and self-aware. But the one I'd probably draw attention to make myself sound a bit more pretentious is actually A School of Poetry. Because when I was studying English in university, all the poetry we'd done up until that point was like Shakespeare's sonnets, John Donne, John Keats, all these like somewhat ancient storied people with pedigree, right? You're not allowed to criticize a John Donne poem. It just is. And you're supposed to analyze it and dissect it like a bug. And that's kind of what poetry was. And then I studied for a year in the States. And one of my professors, the American literature professor, Professor Lysing, he went, but have you read Frank O'Hara? And I don't know if anyone anywhere is familiar with Frank O'Hara. He was this New York school poet. He was a cousin to the Beats, so kind of writing about the same time as Kerouac. He worked in the Museum of Modern Art in New York in the 1950s. And he wrote this volume of poetry called Lunch Poems. And basically what it was is the dude would go on his lunch break and just write about his day. He'd be like, I'm walking through the streets, and then I saw this pair. And it's all about modern pop culture at the time and all that kind of stuff. And it blew me away because it completely inverted what I thought poetry was. Because for me, poetry was, again, this stuffy thing from 300 years ago that you're supposed to break apart and analyze. And just to find a school of poets, so you've got Kenneth Koch, Frank O'Hara, James Schuyler, all these artists from the 1950s that were kind of friends with all the artists at the time, people like Jackson Pollock, who were just having flipping fun writing poetry and writing stories through poetry, was just this big, like, amazing kind of emancipation of what poetry is for me.
I love
and so that's where my first, I guess, reaction was. It's not really about sci-fi and fantasy at all. It's finding out that some people are actually having fun with poetry. And I still read poetry to this day because of that professor, that brilliant professor.
Oh, no.
Now, let me tell you more about Ulysses. Just kidding.
Oh, he muted himself.
He muted
Only you
himself.
do.
I'm sure he was telling me how much he enjoyed my poetry conversation. So
Sorry, I have to try to lay the baby down. I'll be right back.
that's
Oh,
no worries.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I go, and I know that we've talked kind of off air a little bit about how much I love poetry and what poetry can be, because I think people have a kind of misunderstanding of what it kind of is these days.
Yes, poetry club. We need to start a poetry club.
Yeah,
I really want to get more into poetry.
I'd be super
As for me, my answer to that question, and by the way, I loved both your answers to that question. I didn't quite respond perfectly, but that was really cool. I love hearing how you stumbled upon that, and it was just like this new door opened up, and how you said it emancipated your understanding of poetry or feelings about it.
I was just going to say, I don't mean to, because I know, but a good teacher, if a good teacher sets you in the right way, it means everything. But
Yeah.
I am curious to hear what your answer is, Joanna.
Oh, yeah. There's so many answers that are coming to my mind right now, and even though so I know this is a hyped book. It is a hyped book, but not necessarily in fantasy booktube, and that's Stoner by John Williams.
I love Stoner.
Obviously, that took me by storm. I did not expect to love that book as much as I did. My mother and I buddy read it, and we couldn't stop talking about it for like 2 years. Every time we got on the phone, we would talk and talk and talk about Stoner. So that blew my mind how much I could love that, and I think because I was outside of the conversation, being a little bit outside, a little bit removed from Litfic BookTube, which I do love some Litfic channels, but I felt a little bit removed from those conversations, but that blew my mind, and I guess I was responsible for hyping the book in Fantasy BookTube, and some people were like, "Okay, this is a fine." I think I overhyped it for people, sadly, but I think it's a masterpiece. I do. And then let's see, there are a couple other ones. Actually, Ben is responsible for this one in part, and that is "Disgrace" by Coetzee, another Litpic book.
Oh,
But
good books. Yeah.
have you read that?
In uni years ago, but I loved it.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's
Coetzee,
so
yeah?
good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know how to say his name. I
Yeah.
apologize. Yeah, it's so well written, and it's incredibly dark and harrowing. But I kind of regret that it didn't make my top 10 because the year I read it, because I still think about it all the time. There are so many books like that. They didn't quite make my top 10, but I still think about them all the time, and I don't feel like I hear enough conversation about them. So another example of that is Ice by Annika Von, one that you and I have talked about a little bit. I
Good
just
book.
think it's a brilliant book.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand people bouncing off of it because it is kind of like I think you and I talked about, it's almost like you're trapped in a dark nightmare,
Yeah.
and it can have a repetitive quality to it because of that. But I really love what that book was doing atmospherically and metaphorically, thematically. I just think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And the other one that I thought about a lot recently, that came to me out of nowhere because, again, it's hyped in other circles. All the ones I'm thinking about are hyped probably outside of Fantasy BookTube. But another one is because a friend gifted it to me. I wouldn't have read it otherwise, but my friend Whitney from Secret Sauce of Storycraft earlier this year gifted me I Who Have Never Known Men. And I know I talked about that to you recently. And I know a lot of people bounce off that book too, but I really think there was a lot to that book that surprised me because I
Yeah.
understood it was going to be like a feminist, post apocalyptic kind of story, but I had no idea where the story was going to go when I read it. And I I found it really I just found it so compelling, and I felt like it rather than just exploring the meaning of what it means to be a woman, I think it does explore that, but I think it goes further than that. I really feel like it explores what it means to be human. And yes, a lot of stories do that, but I really love the way that particular story did it.
Yeah.
Clara and the Sun. So all my favorites, I guess, are more litfic, which is kind of silly.
It's
But
interesting, isn't it?
yeah, I'm trying to think of fantasy. I mean, To Ride Hell's Chasm by Jenny Wirtz, I did love that. That came to me out of nowhere when I read it. Um, every Guy Gavriel Cave, though everybody talks about those now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting question, but there's a lot. That's why I love Electric Forest by Tanith Lee. I know I talked about that with my friend Nico the other night on his live stream, which is a really short sci-fi standalone, and I found the writing so evocative. It was electric in the way it was written, so colorful. I love her prose. So that was and it had a twist at the end that I did not expect. It went in a direction I did not expect. So yeah, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them, and I think that's why I gravitate towards, like, if people talk about hidden gems, I love
Yeah.
hidden gems.
I was just smiling listening to you talk about all those books because Ice. I know we've talked about Ice. I love Ice. I think slipstream fiction is what it's called. And Anna Kavan, listen, you can tell that she was on drugs basically her whole
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like, oh my goodness, every single scene from Ice is just imprinted in here.
Mhm.
JM Coetzee, I think is how you pronounce his name, but listen, I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right. I
he
don't
wrote,
know. I shouldn't even try.
he wrote a really good book called Foe. I don't know if have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, look, there's my mum. There, she got in the camera.
Hi, David's mom.
Foe is all about, it's a retelling of Robinson Crusoe. So Daniel Defoe, Foe. And it's about 150 pages long. And all it is I'm trying to remember, it's been a long time. I believe what it is the protagonist is a woman, and she kind of lands on the island where Robinson Crusoe and Friday are already there. And so she tells the true story of what it was like for these two people. And then it finishes, I believe, well, I won't spoil it too much, but they do get off the island at a certain point, and then they have to deal with the ramifications of I think selling the story. It was a really interesting kind of, I'm a sucker for retellings of stories, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, when something gets told in a different way, I find that really compelling. But I do find this interesting that people have been talking about. There's already a poetry club. I don't know if you saw that.
No, somebody talking about that?
Yeah, I want to know how to get in on the poetry club, man.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Poetry Club.
Yeah.
I guess I missed that comment. I apologize. I'll try to catch up here, by the way. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. If you haven't read Plainsong by Kent Haruf, give it a go. Okay. And then Paul says here, I've not read poetry since leaving high school, but in my last year there, I was introduced to the work of, is it Seamus Heaney? Is he the one that translated Beowulf? Because I read his
I think that was
translation of
him, yeah.
Beowulf,
Yeah.
which is really, really good. And I need to reread it. Or maybe read Tolkien's just to do something different this time. But yes, I know he's very famous for his poetry. Okay. And then I was
With Ice,
impressed
I
by
think.
Ice. Yes, I could totally understand that, Jonathan. Jonathan's amazing, by the way, for sci-fi recommendations. He did feel the repetitiveness. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people feel fatigued by the repetitiveness by the end of the book, which is totally valid.
Yeah.
But still, it just still haunts me to this day. And I really loved the way it explored environmental themes and patriarchy at the same time. And I don't know, it's just really intriguing the way it did that. And
Yeah.
addiction. There were just several things that were layered into the narrative. Makes sense with you being steeped in fantasy books that your underhyped great reads came outside of SFF. Yeah, because Alan, I was just talking about how, for me, my answer to that question, to Ben's question about books that came out of nowhere for me, all of them tended to be lit fic books, almost all of them. So like Stoner, for example, was just an absolute gem for me, and kind of guilty for hyping it up in fantasy booktube. Talking Story, do you think it's possible to get hype rolling if
Yes.
there is no true merit to the book to begin
Yes.
with?
Examples.
That would be an interesting research study, wouldn't it?
I saw someone mentioning the Poppy War, but I haven't read it.
The Poppy War is
No. Go on.
so the Poppy. I really enjoyed the first and second Poppy War, but I just like because it's set in the Opium Wars, right? And I just like that. I have never experienced like I personally feel like Kwong bought her own hype because that third book isn't good. Like
No,
even if you
I
can
don't
defend
like
the
it.
first two, like even if because a lot of people say none of them are good, and that's fine. But even if you like the first two, the third book isn't good. It is so wildly unfocused. And what she had a goal where Rin she's going to be the stand-in for Mao. Like she's a fantasy Mao. Like, and that's where she's going to end up. Sorry, I'm spoiling Poppy War for everybody. But she has that goal, and I think she pigeonholed herself because she didn't give herself enough time to get there. The Burning God spends half the book doing stuff that's just like, why are we doing this? And then she makes decisions that don't make any sense considering her relationship with the characters that we've built up over 3 books so that we can get to, that final point. I really am sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. But I mean, Journey Before Destination, Sanderson fans. So
Yeah, I also I also was very disappointed with the third book in the Poppy War. Though I had a good time with the first two, and my enjoyment of the first one largely because I buddy read that with Alan, and he did wonderful video. He did a wonderful video about the Opium Wars and
mm,
gave context to the history, the historical influences of that book.
that was fun.
That was so much fun. That was the first buddy read I think I ever have been in. By the
But I
way.
think, I mean, I think people hype stuff all the time that may not have any inherent value. I mean, the people who are hyping it, they may get inherent value from the fact that they are trying to profit from their hyping of it, hyping it up, which
True.
may, I mean, that's their value. And then if we are not, never mind. I was going to say the words media literacy, and then I was going to have to unalive myself on stream. I can't be that guy. But it's just like, if you don't, like, if you're not, if you think critically and you just believe in personality, like if you're in a member of, I don't know, not a cult, but if you just like follow the force of personality, or you follow popular people because they're popular, because some people are popular, they are famous for being famous, which is, can't square that circle. Then yeah, you'll just believe it, and then you may just want to believe that it's good because so and so who's really important, and I like them because proximity to them makes me feel like I'm important, and that's just being super cynical. But I think that happens frequently. Maybe
I
not
want to
as
ask you about that actually, Alan. And before I do, I want to have a follow-up question to that. But do you want to answer this? Have you read Babel?
No.
The answer is no.
I looking at R.F. Kuang is an incredibly brilliant human being. Like, she just is. Like, you can't, if people want to argue that, okay, fine. But I know her education, and like, I've heard her talk, and I'm just like, I am not smart enough to hang out with R.F. Kuang, and I'm a pretty intelligent guy. But R.F. Kuang, like, the stuff she's writing at this point is just like, it's just like, look, all translation is victimization or an assault, and I'm just like, I don't subscribe to what you're. I'm not going to read a book about that. Like, I
read that book. Yeah.
I know you did, and did you love it, Joanna?
Oh my gosh.
No, because it's pretentious, and
it's also incredibly didactic and very in your face with.
And I don't think Catabasis is going to be any better.
That's the new one coming out soon, right?
That's the new one where it feels to me like it's freaking like Aristophanes' frogs combined with Dante's Inferno, like going into the underworld to like rescue. Because Aristophanes' frogs is Dionysus is going down there to bring one of the Athenian tragedians back to life, and to decide who gets to go, they have an epic rap battle, like legitimately an epic rap battle between Aeschylus and Euripides, which is ridiculous. But that's more fun than I think Catabasis is going to be. I think it's going to be another super, and that makes me sad. Like, I don't know if like pushback against the Poppy War has made her do this. I would love for her to write more Poppy War style books than Babel and Catabasis style books, because I'm not going to read those. They're not my kind of book. And talking about hype train, those things have 100,000 5-star reviews before they're ever released. Because
you were messaging me those when I was about to pick up Babel.
People who are like, Mother writes, I read. Please stop having this kind of fake relationship with online people. That's hashtag Walker Life lesson number 2 to everybody out there. Please stop. If anyone in my comment ever says Alan recommends, I read, please don't. You cannot. I am not trustworthy enough. Like, I am. So please, like, you can trust my recommendation. That's fine. But just like this whole the rabid fandom thing. We're back to the rabid fandom thing, where it's just like, oh my gosh, this book made me want to end my existence, and I'll never read anything that's like, oh, I sat in the corner and cried for 2 days straight. You're a liar.
There was really a comment like that. Like, I could read.
I'm not being hyperbolic for once.
I'm sitting here thinking Babel seems pretty good, man. I don't know. Like, I haven't read it, but
I'm sure you're the exact kind of pretentious person it's meant for. But
see when you left during my poetry description, I genuinely thought you just had enough.
No, I had to put the baby down. The timing was fortunate.
That is so funny. I have a question about this though, Alan, because you were bringing up this whole people being famous for being famous thing. And is this, since you know far more about history than I do you think is this a historical thing? Like, has this always been a thing? Have there always been people who are just famous for being famous and having that kind of
Not, I
following?
mean, I'm. You can never say never. But I'm fairly certain people used to be famous. One, we did not have the internet, so I think before the internet, it was very difficult to be famous for just being famous. Like I think you had to have, like I think you had to be famous for something. Like you had some form of talent, whether people think it's a talent or not, right? And in ancient history, I don't really think they just made you famous for just existing. I mean, the aristocracy is the closest we got, right? Like you're important because of you're important because you're important, right? But I mean, I think most, celebrated figures were celebrated at least for, I mean, that's not true. There have always been demagogues who were famous just because they were really good at stirring people up. Like what is Cleon's lasting contribution to society? There is none other than the fact that he was a tanner that stirred people into a frenzy against Pericles, which is, we're going down the niche rabbit hole. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is. It's just the influencer internet culture we have. How old are you, David? Are you willing to say on screen?
Yeah, I'm 31.
31. Okay, so you may have just grabbed the cusp of it. But Joanna and I am grateful every day for the era I grew up in, where there were like the internet. That's what I had. It took 5 minutes to load a page that had any pictures on it. And everyone didn't have cameras. And glory be in the saints be praised crap I did when I was young isn't on the dang internet, right? Like this, I am just so grateful that I did not grow up with all of this stuff the way that my students do. It's just the influencer culture is just, I mean, it's horrible. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being I'm a booktuber too, right? But there are so many of my students who think that they're going to be famous. And I have to be like, I have to tell them as a hashtag Walker Life lesson, hey guys, guess what? I'm gonna go ahead and let you know, you're not going to be internet famous. You're not. And if you're going to be like the guy who ruins my Busch Gardens trip because he needs to jump the alligator fence, and now there's a big fence that no one can see the alligators because you wanted to get on your TikTok, guys, stop. You're not going to be internet famous. You're not. It's not. Chances are it's not going to be you. And the thing is, y'all have sat in my class for a year, and I know none of y'all are funny enough to make it. So I don't know what y'all think you're going to do. None of y'all are funny enough, pretty enough, or like inventive enough to be internet famous. Sorry, guys.
And none of them are Gavin's.
The interesting thing here, you guys are talking about influencers and influencer culture. Mate, my channel's only 6 months old, so I'm a wee baby. But like when I was watching your channels like 2 or 3 years ago, you and your type of quality and content and your types of channels were the things that would influence someone like me to maybe go out and buy a book. But there's an interesting kind of other angle to that.
There is an influencer aspect to BookTube.
Yeah,
you can influence someone without being an influencer. An influencer's only goal is to reach the broadest audience possible so that they can profit off of influencing people. Like that's not a skill.
Yeah.
And I will die on this hill. These are not contributing members of society, and it drives me crazy because that's what everyone wants to be. Yeah. Because it's easy. Because you get to go. You get to film.
People love you for just existing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, and it gives people an inflated sense of self-worth, and also a deflated sense of self-worth when their opinions, when they don't become that, then these teenagers, like, they just get depressed. Like I literally have teenagers who sit there and talk about how their post did not get enough likes, so they took it off the internet. And that is ridiculous. Like, that's absolute madness. And it's ruining these children. And I hate it. And I hate it. I do not have a problem with people influencing other people. Like, that's fine. That's okay. I'm a teacher. It's my job to influence the next generation, right? But I am not an influencer. I'm a teacher. Influencer is not my job. Influencer isn't a job. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. It's been made up. It has been made up by the culture. And I'm getting worked up.
Wait till you find out about my secret TikTok account, Alan.
there's nothing wrong with having a TikTok. There's nothing wrong with enjoying social media. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. That is,
Yeah.
I just it.
No,
It's
listen.
not-
I totally
This
agree
is
with
the
you.
dream of
Totally agree with you.
of Gen Z right now.
Yeah.
The dream of Gen Z is to be an influencer. To
And
get
you know
famous for
what?
being
And you know
famous.
what? Some of them are getting the skills. This is the thing. You ask them to, I shouldn't say them in a big broad general sense, but in the classroom, you do ask students like to write a paragraph. And often the paragraph, just generally speaking, will come out a little bit stilted, a little bit wonky, lots of technical errors. You give that kid an iPad and CapCut, and they can do in 10 minutes. It'll take me 70 minutes to just make a thumbnail. And they've got it down pat. The technical elements of it, they have it down pat. Alan, I'm being a bit sarcastic, but I completely agree with you. Like it is worrying, not because of the skills they have, but because of the direction and the focus and the end goal of those skills, which is just to have faces looking at you. And I totally agree with what you're saying. There's such a tremendous sense of self-worth that people tie into how many likes and clicks they get on the internet. And you're saying that about kids, but like I'm sure we all know adults who do the same thing with, if such and such a post did not get such and such traction, then that somehow impacts their sense of self-worth. It's pervasive.
Sure.
And the other problem is that the internet perpetuates it. They kind of want us to feel this way.
Yeah, I know that I'm happier when I'm off the internet. Like I just am, because comparison's the thief of joy, and I wish I didn't compare. Like but I do. Like I see there are so many people who started this channel. Now again, it's my fault. I don't post enough content, right? But there's so many people who started their channels after me are well past me in subscribers. And does that make me feel bad sometimes? Absolutely it does, because I have low self-esteem in general, but I'm also self-aware of things that are not healthy for me mentally. And I fight with them all the time. Like I struggle with mental illness all the time, and I'm aware of things that trigger me. And that's why I got out of public One Piece discussions. He said, having had a One Piece discussion with Murphy and Philip yesterday. So fingers crossed. But yeah, like I am not immune when I talk about this stuff. I fortunately I do not have the desire to be famous. I don't think I could handle it. I don't like mean people. I don't like when people are mean to me. Like I just don't. And I am small enough to where I don't get a lot of that, right? I can't imagine having 500,000 subscribers and the kind of freaking sewage that people spew on the internet in audiences that large.
I totally agree. I think it's baked into the internet. I mean, it's not just about, I mean, I totally get your point about celebrity, and that the higher your platform, the more stuff you're going to have your way. But what's been concerning me lately is just how it's in every single aspect of the internet these days, the point scoring. Like Reddit and Facebook Facebook doesn't have thumbs down, but Reddit certainly, you get a score based on every single kind of piece of social interaction you make. And you do think as well, what's that doing? And then you also have that thing of like Instagram now has the option for you to turn off how many likes your post has. People can't see that because we all are aware how damaging it is. And you're right. So I was kind of on the cusp of it. So I remember playing RuneScape, which is just the greatest video game ever. Yes. And my mom doing the dial-up, my mom getting a phone call, and then suddenly the whole internet just collapses and you have to wait 5 minutes to get back online. And I was kind of that stage where, like, I remember one of the Harry Potter movies coming out as a trailer, and it would take so long for the trailer to load that it would take, you get about 2 seconds of trailer time every like 20 seconds. But nowadays, what kids are exposed to from the jump, what my children are exposed to from the jump, is that point scoring, and it's here to stay. There's no way to kind of get rid of it these days. It's entrenched in a way that's concerning. So,
I will destroy it.
Yeah, you'll take the ring to Mordor.
I will. Yeah, I will gladly take the ring to Mordor.
Yeah. Well, I just want to respond to this comment here that I hope nothing we were saying is coming across ageist, because obviously younger generations, every generation brings something new and interesting to the table, and that is actually pretty cool. What you were saying about how your students can have that skill with CapCut or with those tools that you were talking about, David. Like, I think there's something admirable there. And
I'll be back in 90 seconds. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, 2 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah, he's just right about like the direction they're taking it in. Like they're getting these particular skills. They're ignoring these other skills. They're garnering these skills, and their end goal is nothing. Their end goal is vacuous. It is vacuous, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a millennial, but we fortunately like go after Gen Z now, and like it didn't. I didn't take it personally. People went after millennials because I knew that I was one of the older millennials. I was not the millennials people are talking about when they were talking about millennials, because I didn't have any of those millennial problems. Same thing with Gen Z. They're older Gen Z, but the one really, we're kind of talking about Gen Alpha now, like the teenagers now. You know, and the ones that were teens a few years ago when I was teaching them.
Yeah. What is this question referring to? Evie says, "Who's your Samwise?"
I said I'll take the ring to Mordor.
Oh, I see. Got it.
I don't
As you
know
mentioned.
who wants to join me in my desire to crush influencer as a job. Like again, I am not, and I'm not even going after people who make their money off of BookTube. I am friends with some of those people.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about. I don't believe that that most of those people are doing it. Like, I think they just have a love of books and have been hardworking. You know, the right mixture of hardworking and good fortune, and have, you know, a massive audience and are able to do that, and that's awesome. But I'm talking about the people who they are. I don't know. I think intent follows the bullet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 'cause it's interesting because I know that we're talking about people being famous for being famous, but I mean, I have to say, like, you have one of the most fun, entertaining personalities, Alan, just being yourself on camera. And that was what immediately you got after me for glazing over you at the beginning. So I'm gonna not do that now.
just
But
kidding.
I'll bring up so if for those of you who don't know, the first time I saw an Alan video, instantly subscribed, instantly went back and watched every single video that he had ever
That's
posted
very nice.
because he was so entertaining and so funny. And he was being himself on camera talking about books. Um,
I feel genuine.
so
I love the sound effects as well.
Oh yeah.
Best sound effects on BookTube.
I don't know how to be. I just don't like disingenuousness, and I
Yeah.
feel like the influencer culture, it is manufactured. Everything is manufactured, and I know I have friends who spend a lot of time in their algorithm tabs. Also, I beg of you, please don't. I mean, people can do what they want, but it's just like when people say, "Oh, I can't do that content because the algorithm," like, but you can. Like, you're stopping yourself doing something that you want to do because YouTube will punish you for it, and that makes me sad.
Do you know what? Sorry to interrupt. You know the notification I got on my phone when I hit a certain 1,000 number of watch hours? It was really telling. It was, "Congratulations, you've reached whatever 2,000, 3,000 hours of watch time. Keep giving them what they want."
ew.
Have you had a notification like that?
That's so
Keep giving them what
disturbing.
they want.
Let me tell you what you want. You want what I'm giving you. Like,
Yeah, genuinely.
you'll take what I give you and you'll like it, or you won't.
It goes back
Or-
to what we're saying about hype, that when the hype traction gets far enough, people begin to tinker with it and intrude upon it and change it. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about here in like a different. Yeah, I almost posted it to my Instagram. Keep giving them what they want. I thought it was such a weird way of putting it. Very, very strange. And I'm sure that as you head up in subscribers, it gets even worse. The obsession.
It legitimately makes me sad when I hear people say, "Well, I don't do these videos anymore because no one watches them and the algorithm doesn't like." And like, just make them. Like, I put up a stream of me and Jimmy playing Baldur's Gate 3 yesterday, and 300 people watched it, and that's all that's ever going to watch it. I don't care. I don't care. I have fun with my buddy Jimmy, and we flat out cut that wizard's hand off, and it's hilarious. And I'm going to put it up because, you know, like, I don't know what to give. Like, if I followed the algorithm, I would have no videos because like YouTube is always like, "Hey, no one likes this content." And I'm like, "I know, YouTube. Could you stop? Could I get that off my front page? I'm just going to assume that no one likes that content, YouTube, but I'm going to keep doing it because I personally don't know how to do something that is too much work. It's too much work to do it if I'm not doing something I want to do."
I was watching Gavin Reads It All on BellTube's For Whom the Bell Tolls episode, watching the replay of that. It was such an amazing episode. And Gavin, he does YouTube for a living. You know, he has his channel and he does an incredible job and so creative. Some of the most creative vlogs I've ever seen. And he was saying that he said, "I wish I could just get on camera and do like a book recommendations video or a TBR or a wrap up." He said, "But I genuinely can't do a video that doesn't make me excited. Like
Yeah.
if I don't feel that joy and excitement, I'm not
For
going to
sure.
do it, you know? So I don't know. I think that we have to keep that in mind too about what people are doing, that take it in good faith that they're doing what is genuinely bringing them joy for the most part. But
I think
um,
there's kind of
I go ahead.
oh yeah, no, you if you want to read out this comment first,
Yeah,
please
I
do
do
that.
want to read out this comment. So thank you so much, Chapter Chasers Book Club. He said, just a thought. I started my channel 2 months ago and stayed off camera for privacy, but it's made me feel invisible, which showing my face helped me feel more connected to the community. I did check out your channel, by the way, recently, and I was very impressed with a lot of your a lot of your shorter reviews. And I did notice that it was a faceless type of channel. But what do you all think? Any answers to this
2
question?
months for 214,000 subscribers. This is the kind of stuff that makes me just, I get offline and I'm just like, what's the point, Alan? Like what's the point of what you're doing, bud?
Brilliant
That is
reviews.
madness, isn't it?
I'm like, that's so
Yeah.
impressive. It's so impressive. And I'm just like, what are we doing, Alan? Like, why are we splashing
I
around?
know. I'm like, I've been here for like
Like-
4 years.
Alan, I thought it was so interesting what you said a couple of minutes ago, Alan, about the fact that you played Baldur's Gate 3 and you kind of said, oh, about 300 people showed up and that's fine. I'm like, 300 people is a school. It's a village. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes
You're right.
when you hit like 200,000, obviously that's amazing. That's a country of people. That is the far outlier. And Chapter Chasers Book Club, congratulations, mate. I don't want to.
Yeah, congratulations.
Like 300 people watching you play some video games clearly shows that you have some charismatic power behind you. Do you know what I mean?
That is such a good point. And I say the same things to my students and then I forget. Like, they need to do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Because like you can only dream to have most people dream to have 300 people listen to what you're saying. And as someone who's grown up and no one listened to anything I said ever, having 300 people listen to what I'm saying should be a bigger deal, but you become inured to it. Like you immunize yourself against it. Like when I started out and I had, 20 subscribers, like that would have been like, dang, 300 people watch this. But now, now you're at 12K and it took me 3 years to get from 11 to 12. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. And again, it doesn't bother me. It's just like, you see people with explosive success and it's like, man, I wish people liked me, but then I don't. You don't want that because then you get those big communities where like Chapter Chasers Book Club, like I can't imagine if you don't have people being mean to you in the comment section, like that's awesome to have that many subscribers and still have a good comment section. Heck yeah. But
do you know what I do?
What about the answer to the question though? Do you all have an answer to this question?
So do you know Midnight Chronicler? He does something similar, I think.
Yeah.
He's the gloves on the table. I think he's doing quite well for himself, and he doesn't, I think, feel the need to put his face out there, and seems to be doing quite well for himself. And I think he does live streams and stuff as well. Just so literally, he has a visualizer, and then he has the gloves on the table, and that's his style. So I think there are ways around it. But I guess if the heart of your question is about your visibility and whether your personality is getting across, maybe just because as human beings we are so kind of visual and play off each other's facial tics and expressions. Maybe
I still think that connecting with the community, as long as you are like, if you're responding to people in the comments, like no one ever has to see your face and people will feel like they're connected to you. That's another pitfall that I try to keep in mind and to tell people who are, well, I'm not very big channel. Like once you get to a certain point, you can't respond to every comment. Like you don't have the time in the day to respond to every comment. And once you have a team of people responding to comments for you, I mean, why? You've lost that game. Like you personally are not connected to the community anymore. Like just because there are randos responding to the community doesn't mean you're connected to them. It's why it makes me so mad that the AI comments pop up.
I was about to say about the AI comments.
Yeah, I already started to comment about that. We'll get into that in a minute. I just want to make sure that we answered this question appropriately because it was such a generous.
I love the fact that the same people watch my videos like all the time. And it makes me so happy when someone is like, hey, so I watch your channel. Like I've been watching your channel for a while and this is the first time I'm commenting. And then the fact that the same people show up to my live streams and like the fact that 60 people regularly show up when I run reading sprints where there's nothing going on other than I'm probably just going to yell at Anitha or talk about how much school irritates me. Like the fact that 60 people show up to that, I mean, it's pretty cool, you know, like I'm not talking about anything. So, you know, I think as long as I think you can have a community without, like, if you're not comfortable on camera, then you know, by all means, keep doing what you're doing. It's obviously working.
Yeah, I think that David and Ellen are answering this in more or less how I would. I think it's just a personal decision. Obviously, you are doing such great things on your channel. It's a great service to the community. The reviews you're doing, it's generating a lot of growth, a lot of interest. But it's a personal decision. If you feel like comfortable, then that could be something to explore. But if it's something that you feel like maybe I don't feel comfortable, and maybe it's something you could dip into, like try it out and then see how it goes.
Community
But I don't
building
think
takes
it's
time. Like it just
sorry,
takes
what?
time to build it. Community building takes time.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, yeah.
So do you know what I started to do when I mean, a lot of the people in the comments right now are YouTubers and will know this themselves. But I talked about the keep giving them what they want. But the thing that I find the most nefarious about YouTube is the score out of 10 that each of your videos get when you upload them. So for people who aren't aware, when you upload a video to YouTube, it will then rank your video out of 10 compared to the preceding 10 videos.
I don't look at that. I don't look at that.
It's horrible.
And
at the very beginning of my channel, I won't lie, I was getting caught up in that. I'm like, this one's an 8. And thankfully, I've somewhat kind of nipped that in the bud. But the way I nipped it in the bud, this is the cutest thing about me, apart from the fact that I have a blanket wrapped around me right now, is what I did when I started to realize that I was getting affected by the numbers game is, first of all, I muted the app. And the second thing I did, whenever I got I probably shouldn't say this because people will take the mick out of me now. Whenever I got a kind comment, like a genuinely kind comment, I'd screenshot it and add it to a little albums thing on my phone. Do you do that too?
I did when I started. When I started.
It's such a good way of doing it, because then when you do begin to navigate towards that kind of what's the word, nasty side of things, you just go into your little comments folder. Yeah, I'm talking about the fact that I need to get more compliments, but there is a genuine kind of warmth to seeing someone say, hey, I've just found your channel and 100%. I really like what you have to say. Yeah. Or I've been watching you quietly for a while and you know I don't think you're awful. What was one? Well, I had someone comment on one of my videos. You're no scholar, but you're no idiot, which I definitely screenshotted. That's my favorite.
I co-signed that. I did the same thing when I started. It's just meaningful because you can go back and look at them and not feel bad about yourself. Exactly. I don't now, because now I'm confident enough in what I do. Like I like what I do. I like the videos I put out. I'm proud of them, at least. So it doesn't. I don't need it the way I did when I first started.
Yeah. I'm gonna take this door. I'm hearing a little bit of an echo.
Is it me?
I don't know.
Is it me?
Here. Okay, I'm gonna mute my.
Okay, let me see.
ADHD reader, just on the bottom. Don't delete your stuff. Don't delete it. I'll be mad at you. I mean, do if you want. It's your channel. But
okay, it's me, Joanne. I'm gonna lower my volume. Sorry, hold on.
That's okay. Hopefully that works out.
All right, y'all talk now. Is it better?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm very behind in the comments here, and there are so many good ones here.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to. I guess what I was going to say when it comes to David's point way back when about booktubers being influencers, I think that's something that I honestly, when it comes to influencing people to pick up a book or not pick up a book, it is something that I do take to heart personally, and it's something that even when I started my channel, I felt like a lot of booktubers. The idea of being in my head, the concept of being a booktuber was like get everyone to read the books I love. And some people they do that, and that's fine. But I never felt comfortable with that. And I remember one of the first books I read that I felt like I can't do this was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I loved. I adored that book. But the first thought I had when I read Piranesi was, Alan would hate this book. So how can I say everyone needs to read Piranesi when I'm like one of my favorite people, well, my favorite channel on BookTube would probably hate this book. and that's something that I've taken to heart. And then also with Malazan, Book of the Fallen, which is a series that is my favorite series of all time. Spoiler alert for my top 10 favorite series. But it's something that I take to heart because there's so much essay in that series. It can be extremely unsettling. It's triggered a lot of some of my friends. And I know I'm hearing that echo so badly.
It's not me. My volume's almost all the way down.
Is
So
it
if
me
they're
with
still
my
feedback
Yeti?
about me.
Can you try muting really quickly, David? See if that
Yeah,
works.
this is my first.
Sorry,
Hello.
I muted you.
I'm muted.
No, you're not.
Now he is. Okay,
Oh,
let's see if that works.
Now, can we still hear it?
I don't know if I hear it. I
Look-
don't hear it anymore.
It was David. Look
your
at the
fault.
Brits trying to blame something on an American. Is this vengeance for 1776?
Listen, that was RT, and I'm still raging. Right? Okay. Tell me how to work a Blue Yeti. Tell me how to work a Blue Yeti, because this is my first time. I'm a novice.
Really, David, if you just turn the volume on your computer down
Cool.
and move your mic just away from the speaker, it will help.
So if I do this, and then I do this, like that,
'Cause that's what I
Empire
do.
Silence is coming in clutch. How's that? Is that better? Am I
Let's
still?
see. Is
am I
that
audible
better?
or am I echoey? Worst
don't
case
hear-
scenario, I'll just unplug it.
I don't hear the feedback.
I don't hear the echo anymore.
Cool.
Okay. Apologies
good.
for
We're good.
derailing Why Read 38.5.
Yeah. So I guess my point was I take it to heart that if I recommend something, I want to be really careful and specific about what I'm recommending, who would maybe be the ideal reader. And because I feel bad if I'm excited about a book and somebody picks it up, spends money, spends time on it, and they're like, well, I thought I'd love it because Joanna loved it. You know what I mean? So I guess I take that. I don't know. I feel maybe I don't know if that's too cautious. Let me know if that's too cautious.
No,
but
I understand that, but I always, because I would feel bad about that also. Especially, first of all, most people aren't gonna blame you for it. But just in case there are people, I always be like, look, I really hope you like it. Like when someone says, "Hey, Alan, I just picked up Trader's Blade," I'll be like, "Hey, most people hate it, but I really hope you like it." Or, "Hey, I just picked up Shadow and Summer." I'm like, "Hey, look, most people say it's super slow. I hate hearing this too, but I'm saying for this series at least, trust the process. Please just trust the process." Or someone's picking up KJ Park. I'm like, "I hope you like it. I don't know what to tell you, but I hope you like it." Or if you don't like it, tell me what about it you didn't like it, if you liked anything, and I can recommend hopefully a different one that has less of what you didn't like and more of what you did like.
How does that relate to kind of people saying stuff along the lines of, okay, but it gets really good book 3? Would you be inclined to recommend something that has that kind of reputation?
I mean, I do. It's called so it depends. How long are books 1 and 2? Are they 1,200 pages each? Because if they're 1,200 pages each and it doesn't get good till book 3, when people here, follow me. People are willing to slog through 100 and whatever pages. How long does Sanderson talk about particle physics in Rhythm of the War?
Like 700 pages.
That's what I'm saying. So
Oh,
people are willing to slog through that because they know what's coming. They know where it's going. Like they're like, okay, I got to get to the Sanderlands, right? They're willing to do that, but they're not willing to give me the benefit of the doubt and read this series. Just it's 1,200 pages total. 1,200 pages total. Like, please just trust me. Just trust me and read the whole thing. And if not, I mean, that sucks. That 1,200 pages is a lot. I'm not trying to say that that's nothing to shake a stick at. And I mean, you're right. Like, how far does that go? It's Wheel of Time is the classic example of, hey, get through the slog, which is apparently the middle 6 books. That come on, like that's not reasonable. That's not reasonable. Like it's just not. Like,
and the twist of the Wheel of Time is that the slog is 14 books long. I disagree with the Dark Tower comment as well.
Oh, but I don't disagree with it.
No. Oh, okay.
Okay, so David, when I first read The Gunslinger, I hated it, and I love Drawing of the Three. Now, when I finished Wizard and Glass and had to wait for Wolves of the Kala, because that's how old I am, I went back and reread all the books, and then I liked The Gunslinger. But I did not.
That would happen to me now.
I think that would
happen to me now. But first time reading, I was not hooked with the first book.
I completely get that.
I agree with this. I wouldn't disagree. I think it's really good on a reread. I think I would disagree with saying it's a bad book, but it's certainly not a good entry. And it's kind of an impenetrable entry as well, isn't it? But as long as we're all agreed that the Dark Tower movie is the best Dark Tower piece of content out there.
No.
It's so bad. It's so
I've
bad.
heard.
Oh, it's so bad. Alan, have you seen it?
No, I didn't want to see it because I knew it was going to be bad. And the thing is, I love Idris Elba, and I think in an actual property, he could have done an excellent Roland, like in an actual adaptation of this. But of course, they don't. Anyway, back to saying it doesn't get good to book 3. Yeah, like I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite there because I don't love that either. But I really do think it depends. 1, how much do you trust the person who's recommending it? 2, how long are books 1 and 2, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I feel like Molasses and Book of the Fallen gets this a lot because everybody feels like you need to read the first 3 books to know. You have to get to Memories of Ice to know.
yeah.
And my
Barnes
whole take
Newman
about
stuff.
that my whole take about that is read book 1, and if you liked it, but not maybe weren't crazy about it, read book 2. And if you really like book 2, then read on.
Yeah.
If you read book 1 and you love book 1, read book 2 and you're not as crazy about it, try book 3. But if you didn't like book 1 and you didn't like book 2, give up. There are other series out there for you. That's my
Yeah,
advice.
it's an unreasonable expectation for people to read 3,000 pages to decide whether they like something. But then there's the people who DNF after 5 pages of something. It's like, nope, it wasn't for me. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
5 pages, really? Like, I don't know. I believe in giving something at least a little bit of a shake. I mean, though, after reading the first 5 pages of Nevernight, I do believe I DNF the crap out of that. I
I
can't
didn't
read
know you
page
read
1 of
any of that.
Go read the sample right now of Nevernight, the first page of Nevernight, and tell me, does this seem like something Alan would enjoy?
I
Absolutely
don't
not.
think it would be something Joanna would enjoy, but that's just my
It's
idea in my head.
just Jay Kristoff, like, I don't know. I think Jay Kristoff like hangs out in one of those like underground bars in like Paris where everyone like pretends they're a vampire and like they all carry like necklaces of like vials of blood around their necks. Like, there was an episode of Buffy about that. That's how I picture Jay Kristoff spending his 40s.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
I saw this comment. I know this is way back there, but I started. So Rikert asks, what's worse, influencers or AI?
So I mean, here's the thing. AI serves a purpose. Influencers do not. Influencers are not real. Like AI is like, I hate AI and I hate many things about AI, but like if AI wants to draw a sample budget for me so that I don't have to sit there and go through Excel myself, thank you. Bless you, sir. People using AI, hey, hilarious. I don't give online tests at all. Good luck, kids. So it doesn't affect me academically, really. It does when I try to do any papers. I can't do papers anymore. And I think AI for creative purposes is an abomination. But at least AI has influencers, not a thing. It's not real. It's not a real job. It's not a real job. Like AI at least has the potential to be used in some way to make someone's life better. Influencer doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. It exists.
Are we differentiating? Because we talked about differentiating between people who
creators are not influencers.
Okay.
Creators are influencers, but influencers aren't creators.
influencers.
Correct.
Okay.
I think the other thing about influencers as well is that so many of them are catastrophically young. Like Joanne, I know you said we don't want to be ageist, but I'll be ageist for a minute. Some of these people are too young to have the following that they do, and they wreck themselves. And the polls are a big example from back in the day. I know they're still active, but like these boys in retrospect were late teens, and they were given a following of millions and absolutely no managerial control or anything like that, and they just ran amok. Like they didn't know how to handle it, and they were just kind of seemed like
I hate both of them.
Oh yeah, me as well. Yeah, me as well. Like I'd rather take a long walk off what's it called, Short Bridge, but like they were young, and there's almost a sense in which if you just given them a 5 years, would it have been different for them? But yeah. I think the other thing with AI. Sorry, am I cutting you off, Joanne?
No, you go. I had one little insert to add to this, and then I'll let you, if it's okay.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a 10-year-old niece, and I was getting her a birthday gift, and found out that for 10-year-olds these days, like 10, 11-year-olds, I mean, I guess we're entering tween territory. So apparently, skincare is a big thing for little girls these days. Skincare, like eye creams and face masks and toners.
Good luck, David. I got 2 boys.
I looked on YouTube looking up skincare for young girls. There were like shorts, like YouTube shorts of these like 9-year-old girls saying, "This is my skincare routine, and then I like to use this toner." And like these little girls, like
Well, I tried to do my
when you
daughter's hair.
talked about being ageist and young, I was like, oh gosh, their faces are like baby skin. Like they don't need a whole 10-step skincare routine. It was wild. I'm sorry, go on.
I was gonna try to do my daughter's hair last week, just before we had to part ways for a bit. And so I'm like, right, okay, I need to learn how to just do the ponytail. So I took the thing and I did her hair and I put it on, and she genuinely just looked around at me, turned around to me. She's 2, and she went, "No, Dada," and just walked away. And that was it. So I think I'm incapable. I think the AI thing is really interesting. If I could just return to that, because I think we're getting a bit tied up culturally and socially about what AI is, because we get representations of AI in so many different texts, right? Like, just trying to think off the top of my head, Hyperion has AI in it. Terminator is technically AI. We haven't socially worked out how we feel about AI to some extent, because we have so many different representations. And so I think there's a bit of a kind of cultural indecision there about how to frame it. And then also at the same time, like we have, like if AI is a human being, right now it's a toddler, like bumping off the walls and drawing crayons everywhere. It's not yet in its fully fledged kind of final form, as it were, if it can never reach a final form. So we have this tool that is essentially a small child that is still learning. And we are also still learning with it. So I think the jury's out for maybe another 5 or 10 years. I know there's been kind of issues with kind of AI audiobooks, which, Alan, I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about, and AI kind of book covers and things like that. I think, yeah, the creative process is where I think most people's hearts are right now, because that's people's livelihoods, as well as their dreams and hopes and things like that. And I have a friend who put her name into, she's a Scots writer, so she's all about preserving the cultural language. Her name's Emma Gray. She won't mind me shouting her, Emma Gray. So Emma Gray took her stuff and she did what so many writers have done, and she's plunked it into ChatGPT right in the style of Emma Gray, and it was totally able to do it. And there's something so heartbreaking about that, not just because of the stealing of someone's creative voice, but there's also almost like a cultural aspect being stolen there and emulated. So it's a big kind of ball of a mess right now, and I don't think any of us are quite aware how it's going to how it's going to fall there.
Wow, I've never heard this argument before in terms of culture. That's a really, really good point.
She basically turned her internet off for the weekend when she found out that something can do her act of cultural preservation, that a machine could do that.
Yeah. And I know we were kind of hating. I mean, well, I have never read anything by Jay Kristoff. So for all I know, I could love Nevernight. I could love Empire of the Vampire.
Read the first page of Nevernight and come back and report to me.
But I did see him on, I think it was on Instagram, talking about, I guess there were a lot of stories, he said, including his, that were stolen by this AI generator or something. And it's just a big mess. It's a big mess.
It's like, so again, we go back to the thing that I don't like disingenuousness. And I also hate sounding hoity-toity, fancy, like, but art, I also don't like talking about art, capital A, but like arts and creative stuff done by machine feels soulless. Like, and that's, and that may be ineffable. Like maybe the machine can spit out Long Price Quartet in Long Price Quartet 2, more seasons, and in the exact style of Daniel Abraham, but it still lacks the soul of Abraham that he put into this, even if it's exact facsimile. And I think that runs counter. Isn't that counter to the purpose of art? Like, aren't we in some way capturing the soul somehow in artistic endeavors? This is not the kind of language that I normally use to talk about things.
Yeah, and it's so tricky too, because there are some really positive uses of AI. My sister-in-law's mother was interviewed by People magazine because she was one of the earliest patients that was used for AI cancer detection, and they detected cancer.
Oh, that's nice.
Through AI in a way that doctors wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So they were able to remove the cancer from her lungs before any problem could happen. It's wild. It's wild how well that worked for her. Now she's perfectly fine. Like, cancer
why can't it stay in the sciences? Why does it have to come over to the arts?
Yeah.
Because we humans are putting it there. I mean, it's not really an AI thing, isn't it? It's the people who choose to wield the AI, maybe. Or is that too
Yeah.
fancy? I don't
No,
know.
no, it's always us. The problem is us. The monster is us. Thank you, The Witcher.
Tell you what, when we're talking about hyped books that don't deserve the hype, my thought was The Witcher. Games are great.
The games are fantastic. The books
Well,
are never good.
well, I feel that way. So I read all the Witcher books except for the one that was published this year. But I went through all of them, the short story collections and all of the ones that were published up until, till this year. Um, and my enjoyment was like this. It was like this throughout the whole entire series. My husband played The Witcher 3 while I was reading the Witcher books. I always joke that he had a better time reading
Yes,
The Witcher,
he
playing the
did.
Witcher game than I did reading the Witcher books. That said, I still think the characters have stayed with me pretty well through these years. And I mean, you could probably get the same experience from The Witcher 3 though. But the other thing to keep in mind is how much of that is a translation thing too, because I
Mm.
know Vera has been doing the channel Vera has been doing tons of Witcher deep dives on her channel, and she's talked at length about certain sentences that have been translated so poorly into English, like
So
just picking
interesting.
them apart. So I do wonder how much translation plays a
The
role.
story doesn't change though. Like many people's complaints
Mhm.
is Geralt is completely absent from one of the
True.
books. Like that's not a translation issue. Like he's not in it in the Polish, and they just took him out in the American. Like
You know,
people, I think a lot of people just don't understand that when they're reading The Witcher, that Geralt is going to be absent for one of the books. Like people want, I would want Geralt, but the characters, I'm with you, Joanna. Like I still think about Dijkstra from Witcher 3, like one of the best like Littlefinger / Varys type information broker characters. Vernon Roach. I'm sorry, because I played Witcher 2. I had to kill Dijkstra because I am not letting him take out Vernon Roach. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry, Dijkstra, you endeared yourself to me, but you better leave my boy Roach alone. You want to go after Ciri or anybody else from this game? Me and Roach, we go back when we were wrecking Scoia'tael back in number 2. Suck it, Yorvith. It's so good. Like
I need to play that game.
Even Letho from game 2. I thought he was just going to be a short meathead dumb guy. By the end of Witcher 2, I'm like, all right, Letho, okay.
Is that the guy who you talked to at the very end of the game?
Yeah, he's the guy.
That's a great conversation.
He's the guy in the very beginning the opening cutscene that kills not
on the boat,
but one of the other king on the boat. Yeah, which is that cutscene holds up. I watched it like last month. That cutscene holds up, and it's like what? It's like 15, 16 years old. So good.
You know, from time to time, my friends and I would just go to each other, winds howling. Or yeah. And you know a great way to
I'm
play
grateful. Arch grateful.
If you have a Steam Deck, all 3 games are fabulous on the Steam Deck. All 3. It's the best way to play The Witcher.
I am waiting for them to redo The Witcher 1, which they're remaking right now, because I have not played Witcher 1. But Witcher 2 because Witcher 3 continues much of the story from Witcher 2. And it's like it completely endeared me to The Witcher. And then I read the short stories and I'm like, these are okay. And then I read the first novel and I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and play Witcher 3 again. Because I don't know, Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. Witcher 2 is not as fun to play as Witcher 3, but the storyline's just as good. I love the story in Witcher 2.
Yeah. My husband loves all 3 games. Of course, Witcher 3 the most, but he actually really enjoyed both 1 and 2 quite a bit.
Very cool.
But I do want to ask because David, I feel like you've been reading some series lately that have received quite a bit of hype. So, for example, Dungeon Crawler, I cannot say this. I
DDC.
say it for
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah, Dungeon.
Yeah.
Gosh, how do you say that so easily? I need the Scottish accent here. Go ahead. What is that? Does that live up to the hype for you?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you heard this, but it's.
Oh, wait, sorry. Yes, we were just talking about you, whether Witcher lives up to the hype, and I was shouting out your deep dives, Vera, because you brought up so many good points about the translation affecting experience. That was, something that I've gathered too, and I do wonder if some of it could be culturally influenced as well, like as far as enjoyment is concerned. So yes, I did.
I'm fascinated by that translation concept of how much of The Witcher is lost in translation. I think that's something I'm going to look up later. Yeah, and I'll take Vera's word for it. Not speaking a word of Polish, but Dungeon Crawler Carl is on paper rubbish. It's just, and again, if you look at those original covers of Dungeon Crawler Carl, they look. Do you all know what I'm talking about with the original covers?
All I can picture is
Yes, I
the
do.
neon ones. Are those not the original?
No. Those were so basically Dungeon Crawler Carl was self-pub that got enough hype, enough traction that it got published in places like Waterstones and Barnes and Noble. But the original covers are so goofy, and you could say that they're good goofy or bad goofy. But basically, it's a man in his underwear running away from a goblin riding a tractor.
I would never read that. I would never ever pick that book up.
I just got an audiobook for book 1, by the way.
So what happened was I went online and I said, listen, I think I've been giving self-pub a bad shake. Could someone please recommend a book for me? So I got recommended Kingdoms of Ash, I think it's called, which I still haven't read. And oh my goodness, Michael R. Fletcher, Obsidian Path. Yeah. And I got recommended Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I bought all 3. They came to the house, and I immediately looked at this copy of Dungeon Crawler Carl. See if I can find it on my phone. And I immediately
just of how you could see that. My R's are just a mess.
Apparently, us regions struggle saying purple burglar alarm. That's what we struggle with. Purple burglar alarm.
Jealous of your accent.
Dungeon Crawler Carl. I want to show you this cover on my phone really quickly because it's heinous, but it's also kind of endearing. Can you see that?
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. I thought those were the covers.
No. So they've been those were the original covers, and now they cost a pretty penny. They cost like £1,000 because big publisher just snapped it all up and discontinued. Anyway, so Dungeon Crawler Carl is about a man who descends into the bowels of the earth with his anthropomorphized anthropomorphized talking cat who wisecracks as they both level up and kill goblins. And like as someone who as we joked about earlier, I have a degree of pretension about me. I am someone who can get a bit hoity-toity and without the intelligence, but all of the smarm. So when I looked at this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, put it to the bottom of the pile. I kid you not, I read all 6 books. There's now 7. I read all 6 books out. Yeah, that's the covers as they stand now, which I still think are pretty pretty. I could not stop reading these books. And there's something similar to maybe the Dresden Files or something like that, where they start silly and they build in complexity, and they kind of have that Trojan horse effect of actually carrying a lot of weight to them that goes hidden at first. But I love a series, and we talked about this at the start of the Why Read 38.0. Reading should be fun. First and foremost, reading should be fun. And you can identify different ways that reading is fun. Reading could be fun because of the challenge, the intellectual exercise, the ability to put it on your shelf and point it out to people as they come into your house. I don't know. But Dungeon Crawler Carl was a joke. Just fun. And I continue whenever I pick it up, I have the biggest smile on my face. And one of my biggest metrics of how much do I enjoy a book is, can I read it on my phone and still enjoy it? If I can't read it if I'm reading it on my phone and I still love it with a tiny font like this, and I'm kind of curled up like this, if I still am having just the best time, that is a good book. And the Dungeon Crawler Carl series is absolutely ticks that box for me. So that's my elevator pitch.
But you were also recommending the audiobooks to me too, right? Did you listen to the audiobooks later?
So what I've said to Joanna privately is I say there's like a 35-40% chance that you will like Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah. But if you do like it, it's the best thing ever. The audiobooks are also a step up. I mean, you've got Andrea Parsons, who does The Wandering Inn, and forgive me, the bloke who does flipping First Law. What's he called?
Stephen Pacey.
I mean, those 3 are kind of viewed as kind of equal in terms of their caliber. But the guy who does Dungeon Crawler Carl, Jeff Hayes, he spends. I mean, I'd be curious to hear your opinion about it, Alan. Actually, with your own audiobook endeavors, like the amount of extra legwork he seems to put behind his performances is something stunning, like staggering. All the sound effects, all the voices, just that level of polish is brilliant. So yeah, this is my Dungeon Crawler Carl evangelization, I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to give the first book a shot, and we'll see where I land with the 40% odds. But
I went from Ulysses to Dungeon Crawler Carl in the space of an hour. So
well, since you brought Ulysses up too, I think Vera's challenging your Why Read answer about enjoyment here, because she says,
where is it?
It's
right here. It says, well, is reading Catcher in the Rye fun? Is reading Blood Meridian fun?
The answer to both of those is no.
Is climbing a mountain fun?
No.
Yeah.
Is it?
No,
Why is climbing a mountain fun?
It just is.
It's not fun, Joanna.
You're
Not
out and you can feel the mountain air around you, and you're feeling your muscles being activated, and you're seeing the
so
different
worse.
sights and everything. Every time you go around a corner, there's a different view.
I think you're much more active than I am. I'm just kind of gasping and hoping there's another little bit of water at the bottom of my bottle as I head up the mountains. The reason that I kind of made that analogy personally, just for me, is because for me going up a mountain is grim. Like, I don't know if you do this in the States, but often a good field trip you do in schools in the UK is to go mountain climbing, where the bus will take the kids to the foot of a hill and then they'll spend the day climbing it. And all the kids hate it. All the kids hate it because your feet are getting sore, and it's always raining. It's always raining in Scotland. But you get to the top and you look out over the view, and suddenly you feel this kind of sense of satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. And I guess for me, that's kind of where I was going with that analogy. Because for me, finishing something like Ulysses and finishing something like Blood Meridian is that similar sense of accomplishment as doing something quite physically challenging and getting through it. And that there is a sense of fun to that.
I enjoyed the
don't
whole
feel
journey though
accomplished.
of Blood Meridian. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead, Alan. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Do I look that old, Joanna? You
What?
called me Philip.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Philip is 135 years old. I am 43. All right. So I did not feel accomplished when I read Ulysses back in college. No, sometimes I feel like I wasted my time, and I wish I would not have struggled through that. Like the struggle, I mean, I guess the struggle is worth it. Some people will say, but if you didn't enjoy the outcome, so air travel sucks. Like traveling sucks. Like this is always my counterclaim to journey before destination. No, if I will endure how much traveling sucks if where I'm going is awesome. But if I'm having to endure air travel and where I go sucks, well, then what was the point of the air travel? Like that sucked. Like it led to nothing. Like
Have you gotten on a plane with Atticus?
What?
Have you gotten on a plane with Atticus?
No, I've had to drive several hours with him. He sleeps most of the time. He's really good in the car. We are blessed with a very even-tempered baby. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, other than say I did not enjoy the experience of reading Ulysses, and I certainly didn't enjoy the experience of reading Catcher in the Rye. And when I finished, and Catcher in the Rye ain't even that long. Catcher in the Rye is bad.
Yeah,
bad. I contest the premise that it's a good book.
Do you select material for teaching based on how much you think the kids are going to enjoy it, or what's your kind of metric there?
They will enjoy what
I'll be right back.
what I feed them. Like I teach Latin. Like I give them Latin, and
but you teach them texts too, right? You have to select texts that to bring that out in them. No,
I teach level 1 and 2. These kids can't read Latin until they get to advanced. Like I have a handful of kids that go to advanced, and then we read Virgil and Caesar and stuff. But in 1 and 2, no, in 1 and 2, they're learning the basics of English grammar, let alone Latin. And I know they're not going to like it because they don't like grammar. So I probably teach more mythology. I teach more history and culture than most Latin teachers, because I know they're not going to tolerate me talking about grammar all day, every day. So I do like an entire semester on Julius Caesar and stuff like that.
What's your favorite kind of historical oddball facts?
What?
Any kind of historical, like, fun facts that you have?
Yes, there was a guy named Herostratus who burned down the temple of Artemis at Ephesus.
I know about this.
He burned it down for the sole reason is that he wanted to be famous. And when he did, they damnatio memoriae him. They erased his name from history, except it didn't work, and it worked. And this guy is remembered as the dude who burned down the temple of Artemis at Ephesus. He is the original influencer. Useless.
Do you know, I went to Ephesus a few years ago, and everything is like this beautiful long pathway with like gleaming marble and all the ancient kind of inscriptions. And then the bus took us to the remains of the Temple of Artemis. And I kid you not, it's just a column in a field. And from my memory, the column is not like protected at all. It's not like the grass is just overgrowing. And that, it's not protected in any way, shape, or form. And this was one of the wonders of the world, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly, my recollection is that it's basically just it's unprotected at this point. I must be wrong there, but that's my recollection.
Is Vera saying that Catcher in the Rye is the best book? That cannot be what that's in reference to. Like, it can't be. There's that is not an opinion.
Go ahead and highlight the comment,
Blood
Alan.
Meridian, maybe?
I'm sorry, I'm behind the chat. Go ahead and highlight the comment you're seeing.
It's right underneath what you're on.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, so The Catcher in the Rye is the best book? Yeah, I don't know. Vera, please clarify for us.
No, she said it again, meaning that's factually untrue. Like, that's
Look at that. She said she'll make a video essay about why it was the best book.
Look, I hate phonies as much as the next guy. Like, I also hate phonies.
Are you calling Vera a phony?
No, I'm saying that Holden calls everybody.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Like, I hate phonies as much as the next guy. But man.
Yeah.
Vera should read it in one sitting, like she did her Devil's video.
Oh yeah, 24-hour vlog.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't. I can't.
Maybe I should do that because I still haven't read it. Guilty as charged.
Yeah, what did you give The Devils? 1.5. Like, you slogged through 24 hours of reading to get a 1.5 score. That's is that Journey Before Destination? I don't know.
Yeah.
I cannot. Like, I can't get past this. Catcher in the Rye is the best book. Like, are we being sloppy with our superlatives here? Like, we're just saying, like, it's a
I
very
think she
good
really
book.
loves it that much.
That's impossible. That's not possible for a human being to think. It's so not.
And here she's talking about the Borders trilogy. I still haven't finished the third book in that. I still haven't finished Cities of the Plains, and I need to get to it. But
McCarthy has so many good books, and people always talk about Blood Meridian, The Road, No Country for Old Men, and all those 3 books are fantastic. But there's so many other ones.
All the Pretty Horses is my favorite.
Yeah,
I love All the Pretty Horses.
Probably his most lighthearted book, I'd say. All the Pretty Horses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. I think it is kind of a slight, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I was going to say it's a little bit more streamlined of a narrative in a way, but I think it's such a beautiful story. Yeah. And Tori, thank you so much. I hope you like it. You're actually somebody who came to mind because I was talking about Stoner earlier and how I'm just always nervous recommending my favorite books. But I know that you're reading that this month, and I'm so glad you like the opening. I hope you like the rest of the book. I'm okay if you don't like it. I get so nervous. I get so nervous about my friends reading books that I love, and just hoping that they like them as much. Yeah.
I adored Stoner. I thought it was marvelous. Yeah.
Yay. Same, and Alan loved it too.
Now, I was on the struggle bus for the middle section about his pathetic life until Stoner finally.
No spoilers.
Stoner finally decided he was going to stand up for something. And when Stoner finally takes a stand on anything, I'm like, okay, all right, William, Mr. Stoner. I hate that kid.
Yeah.
I will say, based on the title, I had no idea what Stoner was going to be about. I went
neither did I,
and did not expect it to be about what it was about.
Me neither.
Yeah,
but I was pleasantly surprised. So
I'm seeing some Child of God hate in the comments, and I've got to say, I love Child of God. It's a bleak little 150-page encapsulation of what Cormac McCarthy can do. It's just this man who lives in the wilderness of Tennessee and interacts with the populace, and it's grim and it's foul, but so is Blood Meridian. I think people give Blood Meridian a pass in a way that they're not maybe willing to give McCarthy's other dark stuff a pass.
I have never read anything by McCarthy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Road as a Father will break you in the best possible way.
I still haven't read The Road. I'm guilty of not reading a lot of McCarthy. So
my wife does not like The Road.
I remember that now.
Yeah, it is too bleak for my wife. That is just not something that she reads. She tells me that stuff that she had to read in English class, and I'm like, this is why people hate humanities majors, because the crap you're forced to read. I won't even say the title of one of the books she had to read. My wife said it, and I'd never heard my wife just say the words in the title of this book. but I was just like, I would not. I just like I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read a book that talks about pirates of female genitalia. Like I'm not going to read that. Like I'm not going to do it. Like I'm not going to.
I didn't know that that's what the book was about. Interesting.
No, that's different than The Road. She had to read other stuff, like something called like an alliterative name for pirates of female genitalia. And I was just like, what on earth?
That sounds like a good Jeopardy category, Alan.
Where I just don't say reproductive words, because that was me in school. Like,
I kind of want to get to Tori's comment. I read The Road when I was, I think, 20, like way before I even got married, and it broke me. The Road broke me. I very rarely cry at books, but I cried at the end of The Road. And now I have 2 kids, and I don't know about, like, I'm actually doing a buddy read with it, and I've got it just over there, and I haven't picked it up, and everyone else has pretty much finished this book, and I need to kind of, as much as I'm gushing about it, it's hard. It's hard going. But the reason I was bringing up earlier, Alan, about the text you assign or don't assign, is this is something that I'm thinking about a lot, because obviously I'm starting a new job, and as an English teacher, you get quite a lot of autonomy about what books you put in front of the
not here.
Kids. And everyone always says what you just said, and I think Joanna has also said about the books that you read in high school being things you have to get through, when really they should be joyful. And I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but it's something close to my heart right now, is the books that we foist on children, for better or for worse. And the books that we enjoyed and we remember enjoying, and the books we remember absolutely deploring at the same time.
I just think it can be both, because we shouldn't throw out books that kids aren't going to like, because they're not going to like a lot of stuff that's good for them. So it's like it's like eating their vegetables. Mm-hmm. So they need to read things they're not going to enjoy, at least on the first go. I am happy that I read Animal Farm and To Kill a Mockingbird in school. I did not enjoy either one of them when I was in school. I enjoy them greatly now. And I'm happy I had to read Catcher in the Rye, even Great Expectations. Lord save me. Because, you learn, they're classics for a reason, right? And you learn about many things by reading these. But I mean, I think they should also be able to read something that they're not going to hate. And I don't teach English, so that's not my bailiwick. But I do know that, I mean, that's why when I teach history, I don't make them read it up front. I teach it to them, and then I tell them where I got it, and then they will go buy it. It has to be in that order. If I tell them to read Arrian first, they won't do it. But if I teach them about Alexander the Great and get them excited, and then say, hey, I got this from Arrian, or Diodorus Siculus or whatever, then I literally have students go and buy it and read it on their own, because I can't possibly include everything. But it has to go in that order, because, I mean, kids just don't like to read in general. And they're certainly not going to read dry, dusty historians.
I find
we talked about this a little bit in the book, the Snobometer book tag with Philip Chase. And so I explained in that book tag, and thank you, Derry, by the way, for your comment earlier about not feeling guilty for not having read something yet, because this is something that's a little embarrassing this is very embarrassing for me to admit, but I did not have a very good English education when I was in high school. And so I read some classics. I read Frankenstein, and I read a lot of older things like Beowulf and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and Le Morte d'Arthur. But there are so many classics that everyone else has read that I have not read. For whatever reason, I was never required to read them. And so I honestly feel like I missed out. And as much as people talk about hating having to read classics when they were younger, I'm the opposite problem. I feel like I wish I had read more classics when I was younger. So that's where I am.
I think maybe it's a kind of like a cultural collective thing that we all think we've read all the books. Who was it? Someone on Instagram today, Tori. It might have been Tori. If you're still here, let me know if it was you. Posted one of these Instagram stories where it's like a checklist of all the stuff you've read. And I kind of looked at it and went, oh, what? So, it has like, Great Expectations, To Kill a Mockingbird, and you got to tick it if you've read the book. And there's like 20 in the list. And I looked at this morning and I went, oh, maybe I'll do that. And then I'm like, mate, I have about 3 books on here.
Oh, same. I saw Tori post that too. And I was like, I'm not posting this because I'm so ashamed.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I am flipping an English teacher with an English degree who has a booktube channel. And it was miserable, man. I kind of looked at this and went, man, I've got to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
I
do
felt the
wonder.
same
Yeah,
way seeing that post. I saw Vera post it too, and I'm like, "Okay, well, you all" and Tom too, and I'm like, "Okay, you guys are all way more well-read than I am." So
I think it's the same like movies. Like people will say, "What do you mean you haven't seen Gladiator?" Because culturally we all know that story, but actually, or The Godfather. I mean, you've talked to me about The Godfather. I've never seen The
Mm,
Godfather, um,
yeah.
and I'd love to. I just it's there's so many things that are must sees or must reads that we forget that most of us haven't consumed the vast majority of those texts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm just gonna highlight Vera's comment here. What are your thoughts on Murakami? I'm pretty sure Alan has not read Murakami. I've only read 2 books by Murakami. I've read The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, and I've read his nonfiction book on running, which is
I
really
love
a book
that book.
about writing.
I
It's
love
an
that book.
excellent book, isn't it?
It's a good wee book. Yeah.
It's a really good book. And I with the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, I liked it. So I liked his writing style. I liked the flow of his writing, and I liked the way he depicted the Tokyo atmosphere, but I didn't really connect with what he was going for. Like, I had no idea what he was going for in that story. And I know there are all types of different analytical videos about that book and what the subtext or the themes were, the symbols and all that. It went over my head. It went way over my head, and I haven't felt inspired to pick up another aside from his On Running book, I haven't read another Murakami book since then.
I would rather eat 1Q84 than read it again. It,
Yikes.
it was it was awful. I have nothing to say about it because you're saying that maybe you need to read it again to find all the symbols and things under the surface. I'm kind of convinced that the emperor has no clothes. Talk about hype. Talk about undeserving hype. I think that man has a beautiful writing style, and there's nothing going on under
Mhm.
the surface.
That's what it felt like.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're being way too generous talking about the symbolism. I think.
Well, no,
Listen.
no, I'm saying
Yeah,
that other people have made,
okay,
like, videos explaining all the depth and insights in this novel that just, for me, completely went over my head. I I
they're
was like, "Okay."
delusional. They're delusional. Is my take. I mean, I'm being a bit facetious, but I've really struggled with Murakami. I think his sentence by sentence writing is really lovely,
Yes.
but the bigger picture I just find a bit dreary. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a hill I don't want to climb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight Jerry's comment here. Having read some things more than once because of changing schools, how the classroom discussion goes has more to do with how I feel about the book. Interesting. Cool. Thank you all. You all are giving such lovely comments here too. And it's really interesting to hear everyone's background. Yeah, Tori says that that was her. There's a ton of different lists with different classics on them, so don't feel bad. Yeah, I think I just feel bad regardless, because I do feel like there's so many books I should get to. Um, yeah. So yeah. So I guess yeah, we were just talking about just different classics and how you could feel like you're very ill-read depending on the types of classics that are presented. I
Mhm.
don't know if you've seen those, Alan, on Instagram or anything, like, check all the ones that you read
It's okay.
situation.
So it's a different. I mean, it's a different but the same. You have to like them too. Like you can feel just as left out and just as on the outside if you don't like them, and that's where I fall. Is I've
Mm.
read several of them and I don't like them, and so I mean, you find yourself. You don't, Joanna. It's actually better for you because you want to read them and you
Yeah.
haven't read them and have cast them aside. So you are not ostracized from the intellectual community because you don't like big dumb books that are all challenging to get through and everything. And so that awakens feelings of inadequacy in me because I'm a smart guy. Like I know I'm a smart guy, but I just don't like I don't care. Like I don't care about Catcher in the Rye, and I'm never going to read IQ 84 for any reason ever. Like I don't need to read it to know it's not something I'm going to enjoy. I don't need to. And Ulysses is a monstrously just no, no, I hate it. I hate it so much. And I, it's like you're not allowed to hate academic books or books
Yeah,
that you're not allowed to hate literature because if you do, well, you didn't read it right or you're not smart
yeah,
enough to
you're a
understand it.
caveman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love seeing people, have hot takes though, like, there's a lip fic channel, Better Than Food, which you guys probably have I don't know if you've heard about him,
I've
but
heard of that channel. Yeah.
yeah, I was watching his Crime and Punishment review, and he had some hot takes about it. He wasn't overall positive about the end, and I was like, "Nice," because most people say it's like the best book ever written. It's my mom's favorite book of all time. I read it last year, but yeah, I think it's nice and refreshing if people can have different opinions
I
about
co-sign that,
these
Britton.
perfect books.
I like Hawthorne's short stories. Hawthorne's the only one of the American, authors in that period that I enjoy, except for, before someone says it, I like Moby Dick also. But
Wait, you
Moby
like
Dick
Moby Dick?
is equal in pretension to Ulysses.
Moby Dick? No. What's Ulysses about? Let me tell you what Moby Dick's about. 18th century whaling, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, the thing is, I like whaling. If I didn't like whaling, Moby Dick would be the worst. But I like whaling. And for some reason, knowing everything about whaling is interesting to me. But I understand if someone's like, I hate Moby Dick. I'm like, yeah, you clearly don't like whaling. Because if you did, you would love Moby Dick. Like, how many books are there about whaling? There needs to be more books about whaling. Anyway.
Ship of Magic.
Is it about whaling?
A little bit. Or like fantasy whaling. There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting discussion though, because we all have maybe these one or two classics. Honestly, Alan, I would broadly agree with you that a lot of classics are just generally a bit unenjoyable. Or what's the word? Maybe you kind of have to cut your teeth and kind of be aware of what you're getting in for. It's kind of like eating like a really kind of piece of like dark bitter chocolate or something. You kind of have to be in the mood for it, and you can't have too much at one time. But I do think there are these one or two or three books that we all have that are quite personal to us, that are like classic books, but for some reason we do just find really resonant and enjoyable. For me, everyone hates Grapes of Wrath. I really loved that book. I read that book again on a train, and I couldn't escape. But I had no idea what it was about, and I read it, and I found it fabulous. I really like Kurt Vonnegut, and I like Kurt Vonnegut because he gets placed in like the literary canon. Whether or not there should be a canon is maybe another issue. But I like that Kurt Vonnegut is clearly having fun, and he's not kind of doing all these kind of crazy, semi-pretentious like things to kind of place himself in the canon. He kind of just goes, yeah, this is a book about a man who. Is basically the time traveler's wife with aliens is the premise of Slaughterhouse-Five. And I love that. I love that he was, again, it goes back to what I was saying about poetry. When these literary authors don't take themselves seriously and are still having fun. I think maybe Sherlock Holmes would be another example. I put Sherlock Holmes there. They're ultimately more enjoyable than anything else.
This is a really funny comment, Jared, that you're allowed to hate them. It's a free country. You're free to be wrong. It reminds me so much of when I was studying voice, and I remember I had to sing this song by Henry Purcell, and I did not like it. I did not like it. And I told my voice teacher, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try my best, but I just don't like this song. And he said, okay. He's like, you're wrong, but okay. He told me I was wrong about not liking the song. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm wrong. um, maybe there's a part of me that could eventually accept I'm wrong. I don't know. That's what Jared's comment here reminds me of.
I think as well the fact that you've both kind of said it to some extent, the idea that if you don't like some kind of classic, that makes you unintelligent or lesser.
Yeah.
And we do that to kids in schools too, right? A kid will kind of go, oh, I don't like whatever, Macbeth. Well, that's because you don't get it. It's what people would say. And it's not fair. It's not valid. You can understand something and understand how it works. This is me with Jane Austen. I totally understand how it works. I can get what it's doing, and I can still not have a very good time with it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that there should be room for that,
Yeah.
honestly. So I don't know. I know, Alan, you were talking about that earlier, that students should be allowed to, yes, they should be able to read
Look,
some of
the
these
chance of
classics.
the 13-year-old understanding Macbeth is low. Like, he probably doesn't understand Macbeth because they can barely read English, let alone Shakespeare English. But I mean, the premise is sound. Sometimes they understand it and they don't like it. Like theater kids, like people in theater. That's where you get a lot of people who do understand Shakespeare, and they're just like, it's just not mine. It's just not for me.
I have a question for you, Alan, regarding the Latin. How do you get kids to kind of get into Latin? Because I find with English it's sometimes a challenge to get kids interested and engaged. And I'd imagine with Latin you're in the same boat, even more so maybe.
My class is a cult of personality. They buy into me. They so many times they're like, yeah, Mr. Walker, I hate Latin, but I like your class. So I don't know. They like me as a teacher. I don't know. I treat them as they should be treated. I mean, I am not I can argue teaching philosophy with people all day if I need to. I have peers who believe that they are little adults. I think they are big children, and I treat them like big children. And some people don't like that, but like it's not my job. I don't think to provide them no structure and let them say whatever they want to say in my class. Like I say, hey, this is my expectations. This is what you're going to do. This is what, like, we'll have a good time. Like, I'm not a strict teacher as long as they are doing what I ask them to do when I ask them to do it. That's literally my only rule. Do what I ask you to do when I ask you to do it, and we'll be fine. And so I don't mind if they're having side conversations, because I'm sitting there listening as I'm walking around if they're doing work. But if it goes on too long, I'll be like, hey guys, what you're wearing for prom? There's no sentence in there that talks about what you're wearing for prom. Like, translate that, please. So it's not super strict. But with that comes a good rapport. Like the biggest thing that they say in professional development training is you can't be sarcastic with your students. I'm like, well, you don't want me to talk to my students then. That is the rapport that I have with them. Like, and there's always, sometimes they push the line too far and they'll say something that is disrespectful. And I'll be like, hey guys, hey, like, I get that you didn't mean it like that. Too far. You need to take a step back, because I'm not your friend, guys. Like, I'm not your friend. Like, I'm your teacher. I don't mind. Just call me Walker. Like, you don't have to call me Mr. Walker. You can call me Walker. That's fine. But I'm the teacher. And otherwise, it's just like when I do sample sentences, I'm like, okay, so direct object, that is what the verb is acting on. So in the sentence, Mr. Walker yeets the baby out the window. Mr. Walker's the subject. The verb is yeet. What does I yeet? What did I yeet? And they go, the baby. I'm like, exactly. The baby is the object. It is receiving the yeet. The baby is the thing that was yoked out the window. Ex and estra. And so just say random things. I try to use their slang, which they hate.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, they also know that, like, I care about their education. And what they do is they know if their teacher likes what they do. They know that I care about Latin. And I think that, to answer your question, I think that, because they've told me that before, like, they know that I like what I do. And I'm passionate about my subject. And so because of that, it takes a lot of energy. Like, it takes a ton of energy, because, I can't just go up there and be like, okay, guys, so the direct object is what the verb is acting upon. As you can see here, let's make sure we underline this whole sentence and circle the subject. And no, I try to make up, weird sentences. And then I talk about, life and about mythology and history. And I make that, salacious. Any salacious stuff they eat up. So, like, yeah, Tullia ran over her own dad in the street, and blood splattered up on her dress, and it's called the Street of Crime still today. And they love that crap. And I do voices and stuff, but mostly I develop a rapport.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. That was going through my head the whole time you were talking about that. Like, the use of sarcasm and everything that you're using. Those are just tools to build rapport.
Yeah.
So.
I had a teacher who, his first day of class, he came in, he looked us all in the eye. He went, I have one rule. Don't annoy me. Open your books to page 4. And you know what? He kind of pulled it off. I think, did we speak about this after we went off last time, about how teaching is the easiest job to coast through? We talked about this, right? Teaching
Not online. We talked about it offline. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just bring that up? I can't remember who said it. So we can just keep equal culpability for it. Teaching is the easiest job to coast through and the hardest thing to do well. Because the level of investment you need to do to build those relationships and make sure that everyone's okay, and make sure that maybe no one has kind of been hurt by something or something. And, you just got to be constantly checking on the kids, while also making sure that you're getting the content across is challenging. It's a real challenge. And that's why I think.
Yeah, I just don't feel like somebody could be a good teacher and coast through it, though.
You can't.
Like,
you can't. The best you can do is rely on material that you've made before, which cuts out a lot of prep time. But even then, I mean, like, if you do not want to be good at your job, but you want a decent paycheck and holidays and summers off, because you really will have holidays and summers off, you can literally print out worksheets, sit behind your desk, and you can play on the internet. You can play on the internet for 8 hours a day while the students just do, and you check box and you give them all A's. It is, and the thing is, the reason you can do it is because there are vacancies. We have teacher shortages, so you're not going to get fired
Burnout
or
is
if you
high.
do,
That's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're let go because it's all annual contract, a different school will hire you because they have vacancies. So, but if you want to be good at it, you spend so much time. I rewrite my lessons every year trying to fix the deficiencies in the previous year. And so I don't have tests saved. I have to freaking write a bloody new one. And I don't write. You can also just have 4 multiple choice answers. 3 of them are bull crap, or questions like, what are you studying? What is this class about? A, Latin. B, Adolf Hitler. C, pizza. D, Klingons. 1, you will still have kids miss that question.
Yeah.
2, like writing a multiple choice test, first of all, I do A through E, so suck it. Second, writing multiple choice tests is a skill, and my kids hate them. They hate them. They're like, Ms. Walker, these answers are too similar. I'm like, I know they're too similar. I know that. I know. I'm sorry it's not obvious what the right answer is because I have 3 garbage answers and you're 50-50ing it. You should be able to bring it 50-50 because you know the dang material. They hate it. They hate it. Crafting a multiple choice test is an art. It is an art to crafting a good test.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I'm recalling a conversation I had with somebody, or that I heard somebody say, I should say, to somebody else about, like, it's really hard to be fired from teaching. You just have to make sure, but you have to make sure that you're on time, that you're not late, that you come on time, and that you don't sleep with your students. And he had a third rule, and I can't remember what it was, but
Observations are
Second one's pretty important. So
you always know when your admin is coming. So if you don't do anything, you just make sure you do something for that particular lesson. Like my kids tell me the kids know. My students they're the most honest people when it comes to teachers. They will flat out say, yeah, I hate that guy, but he's a good teacher. Like, I'm learning a lot, but I freaking hate him. Or no, you know what? He's a nice person, but he is just not. Like, we have a like the pre-calculus teacher, the calculus guy, freaking mad genius, like mad scientist hair, has a huge Rubik's cube, like mad genius. But the kids really struggle. They're like, he assumes we have a base of knowledge we do not have, and just does a problem and says, okay, now do the next one. And we have no freaking clue what we're doing. And so you can be super smart and not be able to convey that information to students where they understand it.
I think the 3 scariest things a student can say, that test was easy, is always a scary one, because the test was never easy when a student has said that test was easy. The second one, and this is the one that kind of goes to what you were just saying, Alan, about how some teachers are beloved, but maybe not necessarily quality. I hope we get you next year, sir. I'm always very scared of that sentence because I think that's a double-edged sword, because it could mean that you're popular for the wrong reasons. And then the number three scary sentence is always, oh yeah, that was talked about in the WhatsApp chat last night, because all the parents have the WhatsApp groups now, and that's a bit intimidating.
There's
lots of kind of discussion of various teachers.
I change questions on my test because I have Latin 1 first period, and then my second Latin 1 is 7th period at the end of the day. And I know students, so I change the order and some of the questions on the test between 1st and 7th just to watch them. I look at their faces while they're taking it, as they're looking for the thing that they were told that was on the test that is no longer on the test. That's right, little punks. So it's kind of a game. It's fun to try to outsmart the kids because they think they're so freaking clever. I'm here to tell you that you are not as clever as you think you are.
Do you know it was criminalized in Kuwait just in the last 2 weeks, just before I left? Selling tests to students was criminalized because it became such a ubiquitous thing that teachers would make the test, sell it for, because there's some rich people in Kuwait, they'd sell the tests for $2,000, $3,000 and make more than their salary just based on selling tests. And the Kuwaiti government, who make lots of questionable decisions, quite rightly went, listen, if we find out that you're doing this and you're not Kuwaiti, you're just going to get deported and maybe face some kind of fine or jail time, because it became such a problem. Crazy.
What?
Yeah. Education in Kuwait was an experience. I can speak about it a little bit more freely now that I've left. I mean, I still won't get into specifics, but that's one thing that really, really kind of shocked me, was that students would receive tests. I mean, it was such a big problem universally that the government had to clamp down on it, like from a legal standpoint.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. I can't imagine. Yikes. Selling
Evie,
tests is dastardly indeed.
yeah. I mean, it works for the kids who have the money, but it doesn't really, does it? Because they want to become doctors and then they get to university and they don't have any of the skills. It's just hurting yourself. It's kicking the can down the road. Evie, the reason I left Kuwait, there's a few different reasons.
You didn't get deported.
Didn't get deported. Tell you what, though, I'm glad I left when I did, because there's been news now of you seeing the missiles over the top of Kuwait. Kuwait is right next door to Iran. It's 10 miles away. I'm left mainly because of my children. I'm not saying that you cannot have a good childhood in the Middle East. You absolutely can. Hello.
Hello, Atticus.
You want to move to the Middle East
He does not.
or Japan?
He does want to move to Japan.
Yeah.
You could be friends with your kids. That'd be so cute.
I'll finish that really quick. I felt like my kids were just staying inside an apartment all day, and because it was so hot outside and there weren't many parks nearby, and it was just tricky. And there's a. I mean, every country has its problems with kind of inequality, but I feel like the inequality was very pronounced in Kuwait, and that was a bit of a challenge. And then the third thing I'll say very quickly is the blacking out of books I didn't feel very comfortable with. So whenever we got, I don't think I've said this on here, maybe I have said this on here.
I don't think you have. Go for it. Tell us
so
about
one
that.
thing that we had to do in Kuwait that I found very difficult, and you know what, someone might say, well, you signed up for this, and I think that's a fair enough counter argument, but one thing we had to do would let's say we get a copy of Hunger Games. Hunger Games now banned by the ministry, so we can't teach that anymore, but we were teaching the Hunger Games for a while. And with the Hunger Games, you had to take a black pen and you'd get the notes from the government, and they would say on page 23, these characters kiss, wipe that out. On page 74, there is a mention of cleavage, wipe that out. And you would have to go through the whole book for every single student. It's not really an ethics thing. I'm just lazy. Didn't want to do it. You have to go through like 30, 40 books, depending on your class size, and make sure all of this stuff was erased all the way down. And it's that famous Mitchell and Webb kind of skit. Like, are we the bad guys? Like when you're kind of erasing texts, that's how you feel. And so basically, it got to the stage where I was erasing Macbeth and a lot of Lady Macbeth speeches as well. So there was kind of maybe a feminist lens to that there as well. Like a lot of the stuff that Lady Macbeth is doing because she's trying to seduce Macbeth is one interpretation. And I was just ending up going through this, and I'm like, this feels bad. I don't like this. And so my wife and I definitely came to a decision to for various reasons. And there was lots to love about living there. The quality of life for us was nice, but we knew it wasn't going to be long term. And my son is 4, my daughter is 2. My son is kind of aging out of that easy language acquisition window. And so I thought we need to be where we're going to be. And my wife said the same thing. And she said it first. I'm just taking her words. We need to be where we're going to be, that the kids can learn the language as fully as they are able, kind of from now. So that's why we spent 2 years and then left.
Yeah. It seems Evie's here talking about Books of Babel. There's, I guess, blacking out of books in Books of Babel.
Yeah, it was just disturbing to read when we reached that section of the books.
Wow.
And the thing as well, it's like when you black it out, you're using like a Sharpie. And the first thing the kids do, they get the book, they take it up to the light, like a banknote, and they read it because you can see through it. But and so they immediately go, this word is whatever, wine. This word is cleavage, and they see. And if anything, it feels like you're kind of putting a laser focus on it because you're kind of pointing to it by blacking it out, aren't you?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to leave. Censorship is such a that's just so sticky. I like what Derry said here, that it censorship of books or banning books, that it's a dangerous slippery slope. I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, that's just wild. Well, Atticus, you're so cute. Hello. I got a smile.
Look at Shiner, buddy. Wave your hand. Oh, thank you, buddy.
Oh, he kissed you.
You are so
Cute.
cute.
Hi.
Buddy.
Is he excited for what the future portends?
Clearly. Clearly. He's just excited that he's not in his crib anymore. He's happy he's up. He was getting mad.
Well,
Man.
we've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. So I know it's extremely late where David is right now. And we've just had a fantastic time. This has just been a wonderful chat about book hype and then getting into a little bit about teaching and about
Well, like
classics.
10 o'clock his time.
That's fantastically late. No,
Oh, I
it's
guess
fine.
that isn't, I mean, that's late-ish, but not
No.
as late as, yeah. I know David's a night owl, but
Yeah. I've
have
been
to
going to
respect.
bed the same time as my wife in Massachusetts, so there's a 5-hour difference, and she'll go down about 10, and I'll go down about 3, so it works out quite well.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to make this work. And I'm glad that we got to get together again for this
Yeah.
discussion because it's been so much fun. Loved hearing what you all had to say about these topics. And just love you all so much in the chat for being here. You all were the best. And I just can't thank you all enough. So, any last words you want to say, David, Alan?
So, Joanna, at the end of the last one, I complimented you a little bit, and I want to what was the word glaze, Alan? Because Alan, I don't think I actually said at the start of the last video. I've intimated that I've watched your stuff for a few years, and I just think you're a legend. I think your stuff is fabulous. I think you have such a great, charismatic, enthusiastic energy that I try and, I guess, emulate 10% in my own style. So you're very much appreciated, and I regret not saying that publicly in the last one.
Oh, hello. Look at that
He's
wave.
waving. Good for you, buddy. He doesn't wave.
Yes, it's a
He
high
likes,
wave.
he likes the
High.
positive feedback for his dad.
High.
Yeah, there you go. You want to wave?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay! We've literally just taught him the wave, and he,
Oh,
yay! He wants to
look
keep
at
doing it.
that.
I forgot that that's what babies do. Yeah.
You are
That's
so
so
sweet.
exciting.
You're so sweet.
So cute.
Hey, bye. Stop hitting that.
Well, bye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate
Hey,
you
bye-bye,
all.
Want
Thanks,
to wave
guys.
bye?
Have a great rest of your Thursday. See you
Bye.
next time. Bye-bye.